Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Royal Sussex Live. Welcome, one and all. Thank you so much for being here. I tell you guys, I feel so much better. I could not understand for the life of me why my anyway, I'm not going to get into all of that because the important thing is that it's fixed, it is working, and we are good to go. So let me bring up the slides so that we can swoon over our favorite, and I do mean our favorite romantic comedy couple, rom com, in the spirit of When Harry Met Sally, You've Got Mail, um, My Best Friend's Wedding. Come on, throw some of those rom coms out there. Um, oh, I know, Pretty Woman. Huh? Can you name a few more? Let's name some of those romantic comedies. Um, anyway, that is what the Sussexes always serve us in terms of energy. They serve the romantic comedy couple. Um, there's laughter, there's love, there's a rom com, romantic comedy. Made in Manhattan. Yes, yes. Thank you. Um, what else we got here? Um, okay. Anyway, thank you guys for coming back. Listen, I'm so glad that everything happened just the way it did because if I would not have come back, I would have probably have waited till the last minute to try to address the obvious. And I really, really do need what do you call it? Oh, the wedding planner. Okay. Um I really did need to get this stuff in order. So now that it is working, a lot of my favorite pictures that I refer to all the time, like that and that, or anybody in the mood for a pulled pork sandwich. Um, and of course, whenever there's some tea, right? All those are back. Or how about that ghastly windsock? Remember the windsock? Or the Mitchum roll-on deodorant? I wonder what William's going to do for this particular Earth shot. And so close to Halloween, I tell you, the possibilities are endless. But I hear that the Royal Rota, the Rotarets, will be there. So anyway, I got this sorted out. Um, it was something that I didn't even know was there. And anyway, Compton Caligal, thank you so much for being first this time around. So let's get to the rom com. Oh, you guys, you know, it really begs belief. They have stooped to a new low. They are trying to use Harry and Meghan as a distraction, as per usual. They want them to be their distraction from everything else that's going on. So let's say if you're the future king and the future queen consort, and you are on your forever home number, ooh, let's say number 4 or 5. Well, whatever the number is, if you're on your latest forever home, but your smoking hot sister in law and your equally delicious, handsome, rugged hero of a brother, if those two people go to a baseball game, it's it doesn't seem like there would be anything to use against them. I'll get to that later. I'll get to that later. Anyway, People Magazine, they're usually more neutral about these things. So Meghan and Prince Harry make surprise appearance at Dodgers World Series game in Los Angeles. Let me ask you this, you guys. Let's see some hands. How many were wondering if they were going to go? I had a casual, fleeting thought. Ooh, what if they go to the World Series? What if they go to the World Series? Um, and they're there. I didn't say it, so it doesn't count. I can't say, "Ooh, I knew it. I knew it." It don't really count unless you tell another person. It's like getting Final Jeopardy. It doesn't count if you don't tell somebody. Or it's like visiting Switzerland. If you don't leave the rail station, have you actually been to Switzerland? No. I ate a sausage and then I got back on a train, belching all the way. So I can't really say I've seen Switzerland. I just switched trains. So it's that's the way I mean it. Um, okay, so Angela M says, yes, you kind of thought about it too, huh? Yeah, well, that's two of us. Um, Mary H, are you included in that when I see a hand? Anyway, I thought the possibility was there because, well, these things bring out a lot of the famous and the celebrities and such. So here we are. So, game four of the 2025 World Series between the Toronto Blue Jays and the Los Angeles Dodgers took place on Tuesday, the 28th. Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, and Prince Harry were among the many celebrities to attend the game. Meghan has often been seen in a Dodgers hat over the years. Harry and Meghan are just as excited about the 2025 World Series as the rest of us. On Tuesday, the couple was among the crowd at Dodger Stadium watching game four of the 2025 World Series between the Toronto Blue Jays and the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Major League Baseball shared a video of their arrival on X. You guys, I cannot share that video because I don't want to get in trouble. But again, Major League Baseball shared a video of their arrival on X. Meghan showed off her team spirit in the Blue Jays hat. Harry later put on his later put his and his on. Oh, that's a typo, I think. Dodger hat. I'm sorry, his own Dodgers hat. So apparently they arrived with one hat and switched to another. Well, Meghan was definitely loyal to the Blue Jays when she was up in Canada and often was seen in a Blue Jays hat. Meghan wore dark colored pants and an oversized white button down shirt, also known as her boyfriend shirt. And Prince Harry wore a black blazer over his white t shirt with dark pants. I do believe that that is his. Oh, I think it is the. What did they just wear? The black suits they wore, I believe it's that sweater or jumper, if you want to call it that. The two sat in the front row cheering on Meghan's home team. Their seats were in front of legendary Dodger pitcher Sandy Koufax. Okay, stick a pin in that one because we're going to talk about that in a minute. So there you go. Harry and Meghan strike out. Now, listen, before I get into it, I just want you to know there were several, and I do mean several empty seats in that VIP area, right? As you can see, they have Sandy Koufax circled and they have Magic Johnson circled. Guess why? Anybody want to guess why? Why they have them circled there? Hmm. Legs, you already know. You already know. As a matter of fact, Legs, aren't you out west? Aren't you out west? Um, I am going to, I mean, no pressure. I am going to put the thing up there if you want to um, give us some thoughts. Um, I'm going to do that. Let me see here. Now, how do I do that? Okay, let me try this. I'm doing something I've never done before. Okay. Uh, how many times have I said that in my lifetime? So, yeah, Legs, I want you to see if you can do a private chat with me so I can send you the link if you want to. I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know what I'm doing here. Um, is that how you do it? Anyway, it's no pressure. You might be busy doing something or whatever, but because I sure don't know what I'm doing. Okay, so as I was saying, I guess I'm just gonna have to put it there on a. I don't know what I'm doing. Um. Okay, I'm gonna put this out here for Legs, you guys. Um. That's okay. I'll just do this because I don't know what I'm doing. There you go. Yeah, I better not get too resourceful because you know what? If I do that, then I probably turn this thing off and everybody be going to bed. Where's the game? I do believe the game is in Los Angeles. So, all right. Now, see what I mean? What the hell did I just do? What did I? Oh, okay, never mind. Oh man. See what I mean? What did I just do? Hey, Legs.
Hey, how's it going?
I am well, thank you. I am very well. So you know what the controversy is, right?
Right. Basically, my guess is that they're basically saying that Sussex are above their station, and they'd probably kick people out of the front row or something like that.
Yes, yes. Yeah. Royalty is here tonight and sitting in front row. I'm sorry, in front of Colfax and Magic Johnson, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. I don't
Well,
think that they had a choice of where they sat. I
no,
would imagine that they just said, "Here, these are your seats."
right? Well, the thing is, what's interesting about this is that we don't hear any complaints when um, uh, Miss Mumbleton goes to Wimbledon. We don't
Right.
hear we don't hear anything when um, uh, 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 like I guess even during the coronation when they were front and center. We don't hear anything when he does go to BAFTA before he gets booed out while he's walking in front. You know, this whole thing is they want the impression that obviously the Sussexes are irrelevant, but then at the same time they want to say, look, they're causing trouble for everyone else because they don't believe they should have as high of a station. It's kind of like when they went to the different countries like Nigeria as well as Colombia, they didn't believe they should have that security. And so it's just the same thing with them is that they want to see everyone be uh, 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 relegate the Sussex a certain way. As they said, relegate, what was that? When it, that's right, when the coronation, they wanted to relegate them to Iceland, remember, back in the third row.
Right. Right.
So that's their main problem. because they know how they want to treat the stuff, and they can't stand when other people show them admiration as well as reverence.
Exactly. And if you recall, when they went to Jamaica, they were so quick to say, "Oh, look at where Harry and Meghan are sitting. They're not even in the front row." Even though the
Who sits in the front
director
row of a
or
movie?
yeah, the guy from Paramount did not sit in the front row. And I would imagine that if he wanted to be in the front row, but who sits in the front row of a movie theater?
No, those are the seats that are always available when you come in because you're gonna crack your neck looking up at the movie theater.
Exactly. So it was, they were looking for something. They were looking for something. All I know is that the Sussexes look absolutely beautiful. They are the epitome of the rom com. And I don't know. I don't know that there's really a bad seat if you're that close.
Well, what would happen is if even if they were sitting somewhere else, imagine you want publicity from the game. If you were MLB, who would you show? Who would make the most headlines? So of course they're gonna probably keep featuring the Sussex often.
Right. Right. And of course, when they say the fans, what fans? You mean the people that have been going after them all this time? What they're doing is they're trying to fuel some type of controversy so that people will start sending and clicking and amening and commenting about it. And this is going to be the chatter for everyone tomorrow. Not Will and Kate's fourth or fifth permanent home or forever home, but that Harry and Meghan went to a game and they were ushered to the front row.
Well, let's not forget how they've already getting away with this. And I have a question in who leaked the information in terms of Royal Lodge. And I can't have a sneaky suspicion that it was actually William. Because if you remember what was happening before then, all of September, Harry he went over to Britain. People loved him. They gave him adulation. They talked about a royal that actually gives back and actually wants to
Right.
show up to charities. And when he does show up, he doesn't stay 30 to 40 minutes and leave. He actually stays for 3 hours, 5 hours, asks how to help. And it just made William look very bad because William did what he did and I don't know why he does this. Maybe some PR person says that, you know what? If you go out at the same time Harry goes out, when they do the news, they would say you and him. And that probably ticks him off anyway. But because he could have waited and did it at a different time, but he
Right.
still wanted the coverage. So I think they've gotten to the point where they're like, even though we hate them so much, we're going to go out when they go out so we can get covered for ourselves so people can see at least the work we're doing, whatever work that is. Now, because of that, they have to be detrimental to the coverage of the Sussexes. So it'll be positive when Harry and Meghan are there doing things, but then give them a day or two. They'll slowly start getting back to the point of saying like, oh, what he really should have did was this, or like, I don't know, like, they basically get to the point of trying to reset. And then they get to the point of trying to be, okay, William, we'll pay attention to whatever you've done. But because William was ticked about that, and he's still ticked about that, right?
Right.
Then I believe, I'm not sure if he did this, but they started leaking that meeting with Charles and Harry. I personally think Charles' people are leaking that because they just want news, and they can tell people want news about Harry. So anything about Harry, even though we know when the leaks are coming, they try to blame it on Harry again, which no one's buying. But all of that ticked William off, right? So then that led to the whole William and Charles aren't getting along as often. Oh, William's going to go up and see Charles, even though he went shooting on a holiday. And then also with them in the homes that him and Kate are doing. And now is at the point where they're trying to hide that home, as you say, but then they're pointing out that wait, Miss Nature, go out in nature, just close a nature exhibit or whatever it is for little kids. Isn't she early years? Isn't she about nature now? And now they're closing a nature thing that was available to everyone just so they can have a more square footage to that home. Like, so basically, they've been getting very bad news about that. So I don't like. Granted, Epstein stuff was coming up because of Virginia Giuffre's book, but they didn't need to talk about that Andrew didn't pay at the Royal Lodge. So I'm like, who leaked that? Like, so I don't know if it was William, but it seemed like him to currently move further away from himself. But then he tries to ingratiate himself by showing how quote unquote authoritative he is, and how much he's been in this process of punishing Andrew.
I think that William's people, because William is not that bright, but one of his people decided that we are not going to waste this opportunity to big him up and make it seem as though, okay, remember they said uh, William was furious because of the pictures going around the world of him driving his uncle to church. And he swore at that point that he was never going to do that again. That was something that was not in that moment or even that week. They made that up. William didn't care anything about driving his uncle to church. Nobody tells William what to do. If he didn't want his uncle in that car, he wouldn't have been in that car. And there's no way his father would have forced him to do it. William does what William wants to do, and he always has. So that right there is a lie. So they spin that to say, that was the definitive moment when William said no more, that he was going to put his uncle in his place. And it's the same thing. Even Celibici said it when they were outside of the church after that funeral. They said that the idea that William was trying to be stern and stone faced and all that kind of stuff, he sat there and joked and laughed and tried. He was trying to keep a straight face, and it wasn't until Mumbles told him, "Oh, the camera's right there," or whatever she said, then they started inching away from him. But before that, they were having a good laugh. There was no tension between them. So all of that is made up about William wanting to once and for all get everything settled with Andrew because he doesn't want to have to deal with it himself. He has been accommodating Andrew all along, just like his father.
I totally agree. If you remember, even back when the Queen was dying, right? There were
Hmm.
people of him driving Andrew Ford Fiesta, and I forget who else was in the car, maybe Edward, to the airport so they can go to see the Queen's passing moments, right?
Right.
And particularly putting that out when they know that Harry contacted them in terms of trying to get up there. But then after that, they were also seen with what Andrew. I can't remember if it was a Christmas walk because I remember Kate and the kids were around them at one point, but it was more family members. And then following that, it was the ride to church. So I'm like, well, if you really didn't like him, you've had 3 to 4 opportunities where you've been around him. You should have said something previously. I
Right.
think
And then, oh, I'm sorry.
no. I
Well,
just think
before I
what
forget this, let me
yeah,
let me throw this in there before I forget because I will. I'm so sorry. Um, they said that William skipped Christmas at Sandringham because Andrew and Sarah Ferguson was going to be there. The reason he skipped is because Camilla invited her kids to be there. That's something that never happened before. But for the first time, Camilla invited her, I believe it was her kids and her grandkids, to come to Sandringham for Christmas, something that would have never happened if Queen Elizabeth was alive. Okay, I just wanted to get that out there. They changed the reason why William and Kate skipped that particular Christmas.
right, they had put that out before, but then they tried to switch it. And
Yes.
I think what they're doing right now with this, they're trying to flood the zone. Meghan has been rocking it, particularly all day. Her
Uh-huh.
her launch, that's selling out. Like her and Harry out there for the Dodgers. This is going to be nothing but positive press for them. So as I said before, they're spoilers. They can't have people have happiness, so they have to taint every particular thing just so they can spoil it somehow. But I'm just going to ride on this high of awesome how as ever going out and selling out, and our girl going to be a millionaire, billionaire. Well, she's already a millionaire. Let's go for the billions. She is financially independent. Like this October has totally rocked for her. It's also rocked for Harry, and since September, right? And we're
Uh-huh.
going to keep seeing all nothing but positive news for them. So
Let's see that Edie girl says, remember, no Sussexes at Sandringham for Christmas. Harry did not want his new Duchess in the company of Andrew. First thing that came to me at the time. Well, the thing about William and Kate missing Christmas, the other reason why they may not have been there is because weren't they doing the alternate Christmas every year since they got married? 1 year with her parents, 1 year with his family. They were doing. I thought that was the thing.
well,
Where's
I
Harry
think
now?
initially they might have done that, but when he started getting like tired of her, then
Right,
because remember they used to always put that out like with Carol Middleton, like the mother he always wanted or something like that.
right.
And then
And
they
once
started.
they said that, yeah, once they said that, then that probably stopped that. I don't think he liked the sound of it.
No, and obviously the bitterness towards Kate and her family started coming about. Unfortunately, more so when Meghan came along, because William, he rates himself based off of what Harry doesn't have, right? So Harry didn't have power. He didn't have a big place. He had like the not cot, basically bachelor pad, one room dorm room that knocked his head all the time. William had
Uh-huh.
a palatial Kensington Palace for appearance's sake. For everyone else, it was that oh look, the brothers are both in Kensington, but no, it was only William and his family in Kensington, and Harry had the small place, and it was further degradation of Harry to show like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm always going to be better than Harry. So imagine that brother that you don't look up to, that brother that you think is a nobody or a thicker or whatever the words they use. He gets the woman that you always wanted, that you're idolizing and have a crush on. She's rich, she's intelligent, she's classy, she's beautiful, she's everything that you want, and she doesn't want you. That probably drove him mad.
Yeah. Uh, and Rory says here, um, well, let's see. Meghan and Harry since summer when Harry went to the UK and Meghan went to Paris, New York Humanitarian Award, to Fortune for, and then to LA Emma dinner and Pumpkin as ever drop. All of these things are very frustrating to Kensington Palace because they really do not have an equivalent. They can try and ride their coattails, but they have not had a viral moment. Okay, I'll give you one for Kate. When she sat with Donald Trump, whether or not it was ridiculous, that was a viral moment for her.
That's not one they want
And
to remember.
not one they want to remember exactly. And I'm trying to think of something else that may have been a moment for them this year. Nothing comes to mind, but they have not had much by way of that. Kate has not had the sellout outfit at all. Um,
You mean the Kate effect when things go bankrupt? You
uh,
saw that. If I was a designer, I would be like, no, do not give me that Black Widow kiss.
uh-huh. Remember that one designer who said that he was it Camilla or was it Kate? He said that he wouldn't design anything for Megan
Oh,
because
that was that vampire dress guy. Where he at?
oh, was it?
Yes, it was. Mr.
Okay,
Shiny
okay,
dress.
okay.
I
And
knew
all
it.
right, well, good for him. I'm glad his wish came true.
Don't
Yeah,
let
he's
don't,
sitting up there trying to be all hard up there talking about I wouldn't design. I don't like, and he's saying that because he has his royal warrant or whatever it was, and now look at him.
right. Why can't these people pay their bills? That woman still want her money for that cake. They ain't giving her no money. They go on all these trips, and they still haven't given that money to that woman for their wedding cake.
I'm trying to see if I can find that article.
Oh yeah, the vampire one. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
he had. It was a picture of him next to. I think it might have
Someone,
been.
I remember that. I could see that
Can't
in my
remember.
mind's eye. Um, do you happen to know what his name was? Maybe
We can
I may
probably look
not
up.
have saved that one.
We can probably look up foreclosed or bankrupt vampire dress person, and he'll pop up because his hair was like whitish or grayish or something. I thought.
Vampire dress designer. Okay. Now see, I'm seeing a woman. I think it was a woman that designed that, right? Or no?
Are you sure? I thought it was a guy, but maybe I'm wrong.
Um, Let me try this. Designer says he will not make dress for Meghan. Let me see what comes up when I do that. But I can literally see him, and like you said, he was standing next to someone. And
So smug.
let me try putting Camilla's name in front of that.
I don't understand why they want that scrub though.
Oh, I think I found it. I think I found it.
Found it?
Yes. Okay. I'm gonna put it up there. Give me just a second. I am gonna put it up there. This is so shady. I love it.
Good job, Rory, with bringing it back, like giving us that summary.
uh yes, it was Camilla. And like you said, he was standing next to someone, or did you say someone or something? Anyway,
Well, I thought it was someone at least. They listed all
right.
the policies here.
Oh, okay. Let me see here. So there we go. I'm going to put the pic up there. There he is
Oh,
right
yep.
there. And of course, it's a Daily Fail article. Designer Julian McDonald, who lured Camilla he must have had sugar cubes, lured Camilla to his first fashion show, says he wants to dress Kate Middleton, but there is one royal he doesn't want in his outfits. And of course, you see Meghan's picture there. He lured Camilla, must have had carrots to or oats to her first ever fashion show. Why does that sound weird to me? And now designer Julian McDonald wants to dress the Princess of Wales. Well, put it out there in the universe. Kate's amazing, he tells me at the what is that Fragrance Foundation Awards in London. I'd love to dress her in one of my dresses from your closet or something in the studio. We'll figure
She's
that
good
out.
old fashioned mute woman.
He
Anything, she just do what she told.
said, "I got a great relationship with Camilla, the queen. She's incredible. Former Strictly contestant McDonald, who's 53 at that photo right there, who was once crowned British Fashion Designer of the Year, says the queens sometimes ask him for style tips. Oh, so you're responsible. Okay.
Did he inspire that Italy thing? Yes, not.
Yes, the bat wing, whatever
you know,
that thing was on her head.
that thing. Besides the Grim Reaper, I couldn't tell if she was one of those. Those wraiths from Lord of the Rings.
Uh-huh.
That's like
Mhm.
smoking around.
All those ones that circled around the castle.
Yep.
Uh-huh. Oh my God. I had so much fun with that trip to the Vatican. I spent the whole day editing those photos. I enjoyed it. That was like a pressure valve for me. That relieved a lot of pressure. Enjoying that.
But
Um,
it's not that hard with Camilla. This is why I think she is smart in the sense that she tries to stay out of the photos because she's in there for a dragon. She's always just a mess. She's just a mess every time I see her.
well, you say stay out of the photo, but why is it that you constantly catch her looking directly into the camera? I'm trying to figure out, is there an audience of one that she's doing that just to spite someone? I don't know who that person could be.
Well,
I know when
maybe
Kate
she has good
does it,
hearing. Maybe
when
they
Kate
like click.
does it, it's probably for Megan.
Maybe they click or something like, and she looks over like a cube or a carrot.
Uh-huh. That'll get her attention. Remember at the coronation, they were advising people not to blow those horse whistles. Now, was that advice for the horses, or did they think that the queen consort might bolt and run up the street?
But you don't want to
It
start
could have
over.
been for either.
You don't want to start over. She kicked back behind those hindquarters. It's always happened to Anne. You got to be careful.
Yeah, she probably went over there to have a little chat with Anne, and next thing you know, it was loose squares all over the grass. and and was found face down, surrounded by a bunch of Newports.
Camilla was alive with pleasure.
uh, and you know what? That's why they want Royal Lodge for Camilla, because it is pretty typical when a service animal, an emotional support animal, is you know, too old to work, they usually like to set them out to pasture. She can wander those pastures for days before she returns back to the Royal Lodge.
Now, is that like the last dinner before the glue factory, or is that is that like when you take your kids cat to the farm or the dog to the farm? You know what I mean?
That farm in upstate New York.
Right.
That's what they always say. You remember that on Friends when Ross didn't realize that the dog had died years ago? He said, "No, he's up in North upstate New York." And it was like some 20 years ago, and the dog was already old when they sent the dog away. And he's still thinking that all these years the dog is still alive somewhere. But that's the old saying. They sent the dog to a farm so that they can run free and all that kind of stuff. That usually means something pretty sinister, as far as I know.
I guess that's the easier way to talk about it. They don't have to go old Yeller style.
Right. You don't want to get too heavy with the kids. But I think that Royal Lodge was always meant for Camilla. It is a dowager house, as Hazel Jones said. It is a dowager house. And I did recall that it was actually where I think the Queen Mother has stayed there. So, uh, in all likelihood, and like that person said, I shared that, I think it was yesterday, where they said that um, that William and Kate are going to pretend that they are outraged and saddened that this what is it, a preserve or whatever, was taken away from the
Yeah.
children, and all of these roads and stuff that are closed down. So, in the spirit of fair play, we'll just hesitantly and begrudgingly move over to the Royal Lodge, even though that's not what we really wanted in the first place. Wink, wink. But
Oh
that's exactly what
no.
they had planned.
Well, they already started doing that, like with those articles about like the Adelaide never being like the place that was temporary, right? They're
Right.
already trying to spin it in terms of like, oh, well, they were always meant for Royal Lodge, and so now they're going to kick off all those the people that they ticked off to be like, well, if Andrew had left Royal Lodge earlier, we would have already been there, and then we wouldn't have had to do this to these people.
I think it's interesting that they managed to keep so few photos of Royal Lodge, of Frogmore, and what is it, Adelaide Cottage? There are so few photos available of those. You only got one or two angles. Either that or the photos are pretty old. And they don't even have old photos of the Frogmore. There's just a couple of angles that, well, we finally saw more of the house, but um, it's like they want to keep those secret. Like Burke Hall, I think I've only just seen King Charles Scottish home, Burke Hall. I think I've only seen that for the first time maybe a month ago.
But
Otherwise, I had no idea what it looked like, and I
here's
still
the
don't
good,
know Kate and William's house in on the grounds of Balmoral. I still don't know what that looks like.
yeah, you bring up a very good point because what they do is they don't want people to see how palatial those homes could be. Think about the past couple of days. We've seen how palatial Edward's home is. We've seen how palatial.
Oh my God,
Um,
that house, it's like a city. It has its own skyline. It is a very impressive house. It you can see it has a lot of wings and additions and all that kind of stuff. They have that well manicured, like I guess it would be like a French garden, maybe, or I don't think it's like an English garden. It's like very formal, one side of it. It's a very lavish house. It's even much nicer than Anne's house. Anne's house, it almost looks like it's nothing fancy about it on the outside, and looking at that living room, uh, looks like Fred G. Sanford lives there. It's not much to it on the inside either, but we only seen a little bit of it. But yeah, they are very guarded about how much you're going to see of those interior spaces. Very
well,
guarded.
I think what since those homes were very palatial and huge, they didn't want the public to know. That, like as the Queen, pointed out a lot of times, she didn't want people to see exactly how much wealth they had because maybe people might question like, wait, how much you paying for that? Like, because now people are actually asking those questions, right, when they see these pictures. Um, and I just think it's very weird that with Frogmore, think about how many pictures we saw more of Frogmore than we have of any of those other homes.
That's
Because
true. That's
because
true.
because their goal was to have Harry and Meghan be the scapegoats, as well as like make Harry and Meghan not want anything to be as an example of, oh, royals don't have these all these palatial homes. But the goal was to basically give them nothing. Like in Harry and Meghan, you see Harry and Meghan, they didn't want to cause a fuss because they know everyone's gonna cause a fuss about whatever they did. So that's why they went to Frogmore. And it bothers me when I hear about that 2.4 million that they gave back, because one, no one would expect any owner of a building that you're renting, like so if the Queen gifted it to them, and so if she gifted to them, that means she's the owner. The owner is supposed to do any repairs and renovations. So they should not have to pay for the 2.4 back, but they did because they knew that they would just drag that out, right? However, what bothers me more is that they're ignoring the extra 5 million that they put in of their own money. They don't talk about that. They put in their own extra 5 million besides that 2.4 that was for necessary renovations for the taxpayers. So they actually added like at least 7 million to that house. And
Which
they
is what Andrew, they're talking about the peppercorn rent, but to be fair to him, he sunk a lot of money wherever it came from. He sunk like what, about 10 million pounds or 12 million pounds into Royal Lodge before it was ready, to or complete in his taste. um, that's a lot of money to put into something that you're renting. But when you have a lease that's like 75 years, and I believe the lease that Edward has is like 150 years, obviously they mean to pass those homes down to their children. So it's very understandable why he would want to keep the house. And even like when the Duke of Windsor, what was his Edward the Seventh or whatever his name was, when he abdicated, he still owned Balmoral and he still owned Sandringham. They were not part of the Crown estate. That was his private property. And so they had to pay him over time. They paid him in installments to get those properties out of his name and back into the sovereign's name. But that was something that he could have, I guess, sold to anybody if he wanted to. Yeah, that was his own personal property.
Yeah. So I think just William and Kate, they're just trying to keep the eyes off of them because now they, besides Adelaide, they now have this forest lodge, and then they probably don't want any people taking pictures of it more recently because they're making the servants' quarters for it. Because they try to pretend like Adelaide, they did all the work there, but if you look at the picture of the home very clearly, you see another home thing detached from that home, which is the servants' quarters. So
Right.
they're trying to do that now for that forest lodge, and so they're just trying to move attention away from them temporarily, and also William with the debacle in terms of Brazil, like with him and the chef,
Oh, I
like
love that.
and the earth flop, like
Yes.
because people have been questioning, like, wait, so you're flying all these people in, a lot of them private, and then once people think about that, like they'd be like, wait, weren't you just on a mega yacht for like 2 months? Like, and so you're telling everyone else they shouldn't one eat meat or we can save the earth, and you're flying everyone. Why don't you just host this over Zoom? Why don't you just stay at home like in England? Like, and are the people going to come? No, now you try to make a concert out of something, but you're paying. So people really need to dig into the financials for the Royal Foundation. If you go and look at the financials for the Royal Foundation, if I remember correctly, it was like maybe 1 million, possibly for people from maybe this Earth flop or what it is, but it was 9 million, if I remember correctly, in like ancillary expenses. And I'm like, okay, so that 9 million, that Heidi Klum's 1 million in there, because she always said like, $1 million you can get her to show up someplace, right? What was
Right.
Billy Porter's cost? What was Winnie Harlow's cost? Like you paid all of them. Also, how much are you paying for the box? Like I think that the Royal Foundation basically they're funneling money from that to pay for all this. So when they set the ancillary costs or whatever they called it, that's how they're paying for all this lavishness for no reason for a vanity project.
Yeah, and it would be so interesting if we found out that, and I'm going to just say alleged, that if there was some alleged money laundering going on, wouldn't that be something? Or something else nefarious is going on. But I I don't know why they just can't do this every year in the UK. Why does it make sense to go to these exotic places or, just any other place? And it seems like he wants to go to places that look like the old Commonwealth, even if they're not the Commonwealth. It seems like anything that appears like it's a Commonwealth country, and of course, again, these are not Commonwealth countries, but it seems like he's trying to give it that flavor, like he's so international and multicultural or something like that. When the truth is, um, most of the people don't even know why they're there. They don't know what Earthshot is. They don't have a clue. They just know that they're getting paid for an appearance, and they will do their best to explain what it is by the end of their contract, and then you never hear about it again. I don't see what the point is. He has other stuff that he could do. This does not ingratiate him to. I don't know who's turned on by this. I don't know who is feeling warmth because William is handing out prizes to people who have found a way to compost eggshells or whatever. I don't know how this works for him.
Well, yeah, no, wise words in the chat. Wiseworth CK points out that Invictus is global, so Willie wants to be global, but no one even knows what Earthshot is or does. No, and that's very correct, Wiseworth CK. It's mainly because obviously Harry's has gotten a lot of attention. He has people coming to him that have it host there, right? No one's doing that for William.
Right.
And if you remember that very first year with that Earth crap that he did, remember, wasn't that the woman and her baby walking trying to get past that fence? That was the people that were out there waiting, right? That
You
was
mean those people back there?
yeah,
That family, they have their little pram. They have a looks like a middle school kid, and yeah, the security and the photographers made a bigger crowd than any of the onlookers. They didn't even need to put those gates up there. It's only just a couple of curious people passing by. Other than that, there was no people. Remember, and they said, or was it this one or was it Boston? They said that this was going to be a
the
Super
Super Bowl.
Bowl
That was
moment.
the Boston one.
And I'm just like, what is it about the Super Bowl you don't get? There's nothing Super Bowl about this.
Well, see,
As though it's so prestigious that everybody's going to be talking about it. And of course, you're more likely to see Harry make an appearance at the actual Super Bowl, which totally distracts completely away from whatever they were trying to do with this. So I don't know. William and Kate were determined to push their way into the US. And it seems like after the Caribbean tour, they have abandoned any idea that they are going to try to appeal to the US crowd. I don't know why that was important in the first place.
well, they're still trying it, but they're trying it a different way first. Because during that time, remember they sent what was that? They put out that emotional support poll saying that
Uh-huh.
that people in the U.S. prefer William and
Yes.
Harry and Meghan.
I think it's been several of those.
Yep. Then it was another one that had like what was it? It had Kate looking like the Statue of Liberty or something, and it was like, oh, people that sleep in the streets at the U.S. And so they basically, and I know all the tabloids are for just to feed the ego of William and Kate and whoever that reads them. However, I think what they hope to do is to flood the system with that information going through the morning shows, going through the tabloid to make, and I think this is actually projection because I got to give it to people in the UK. Every time William goes to something, no one shows up or he gets booed, right? So the
Right.
people in the UK are like, we don't care. We don't care who you are. However, the royal family wants people to believe that they're important by saying that people in the UK love them. But if people keep saying this, people won't believe that. So what they do is that they use their titles and them supposedly as royals to go to another place and be like, did you know I'm actually a royal from England? People are like, what? Who? And it's some notoriety, whether we agree or not, it's some notoriety in that going to a different place, right? Because people are like, oh, okay, so you're a celebrity then, right? So what he's hoping to do is if he keeps going to other places, maybe he'll get some notoriety as being a royal. And that would look like it's an interest, even though, like, as you know, in Boston, right? They
Hmm.
they gave those tickets out to people and told people to show up, and people weren't going to show up. And they said, "Oh, Billie Eilish will be here. You should come to Billie Eilish." And Billie Eilish wasn't there, right? And so, because they want the optics of that, it's a grand thing that they're doing.
It was a
So,
Super Bowl moment.
yeah. And so, what they can do is that it's to project, like, since the people in the UK are not caring or hearing, or like that they care about them at all, they can look to the very curated pictures that come out from wherever they are to be like, oh, look how all these people are clamoring for William and Kate. They're rock stars everywhere. So, and it's a way to say, like, look, UK, you all should do the same thing to them when they come around, right? So that's the issue. Like the people in the UK were like, yeah, they're like, yeah, we don't like you. You're stealing our money. We have these other problems. Why should we be caring about what this vanity thing you're doing? And they just read them very well. And so they're trying to make the UK people like them by doing this. So that's why he's going off to these other places to make it look like people actually care what he thinks.
A pseudo intellectual.
So, this next one's going to be a flop, and I'm not trying to pick on his looks, but can he learn to? I don't know. Did you see that poster for the Brazil one? Like, he's like in the center, and he has that creepy, cheesy grin that he has. That is, ugh. It's like every time he smiles, it looks like he's up to something, and
Yeah,
it doesn't look good at all.
it's that smile that says, I don't have a cleaver under my jacket.
Right? So anyone that naturally sees that will recoil. So it's just like, I'm like, okay, you got all these. You took pictures from people from Brazil and some other musicians that look actually inspirational, and I'm great, and it's all on the banners, and then right in the center is him looking weird, and I'm just like, can you get some help or fix some of that? I don't know, but it doesn't matter. It's gonna flop regardless. No one cares about him. No one cares what he does. And I think as soon as he comes to accept that and be okay with it, like maybe he can heal. But it's just that he's so fixated on controlling everything. Like he's mad because he can't control Harry. He's mad because he can't control Meghan. So now he's lashing out for everyone that's around him. Like we heard things about how he's doing his staff. Now he's putting Eugenie and Beatrice in it. And all of these leaks, as we
Yes, that
know,
whole thing with Beatrice and Eugenie, where he is bartering their titles for them to intervene and deal with their father, or else you may lose your titles. And I do believe both of them have some grace and favor home somewhere, but that should not be a public thing. But it seems as though he wants everyone to know that he is going to use coercion just like when they went to that garden party, when both of them walked out looking like they were, about to implode. They did not want to be there, but someone, and I think it was Charles, but someone coerced them into showing up so that William could look like he has some type of authority over the family. And that was the one time that I think that Beatrice and Eugenie, or should I say, the last time that they had an official engagement, and they made it a point to say that they came out to support William.
yep.
When they walked down the steps, they looked pissed.
No, I remember that one. That was, oh yeah, that's that picture before they went to Boston.
Mm-hmm.
And what is him in velvet? Anyway, maybe this one is more Old Spice. I don't know, but it's a little bit more red.
Yeah, he does tend to favor his velvet.
If you know, you know.
Uh-huh. Nobody warned him. No one said, "Sir, have you ever used Mitch and Roll-On deodorant?" Okay, then don't do it. I don't think he had no clue.
Maybe he was going for the pine, smell or something. I think it was Mitch Rolla. Doesn't it have a pine smell? I can't remember.
Yeah, kind of like a pine scent.
Hey, that's green. That's the trees again.
Yeah, and of course, in Boston, we had the wind sock.
Wind sock.
Do you remember how? I think
Sorry,
Boston.
what is that walk he's doing? What is that?
Oh, that walk she's doing.
Look at it. It's like he's not even bending his knees. Like,
oh, well, they both walk kind of loony. Do you remember that? Oh gosh. Oh yeah, it was. Was it Caroline Kennedy? She
yeah,
came out, and then of course John Kerry. He said he was stuck in traffic. They were totally snubbed. that first day. They wanted to make sure that they were not there to greet them on the tail end of something to do with race.
Yeah,
And
yo,
then,
that
of
Lady
course,
Susan Heskey going out
that
there and never.
the lady that did, what was it, a benediction or something like that? She did a prayer where she gave them a lengthy lecture about colonization. And I think maybe that is what scared them and spooked them to the point where they are not interested in coming back to the US, because both of those things happened. Someone they asked the Boston Herald or whatever paper it was. Most people in town did not even know what Earthshot was. They didn't know that they were there, and they were very blasé about it. Now, they could say all they want to that there was not much applause for Harry and Meghan. I really don't know. I don't know if anybody even, uh, recognized them being there, seeing that this was a nail biting World Series game. You have your priorities. However, at least they didn't get booed like Will and Kate did in Boston,
Yeah, oh my
where they
God,
went to the
that basketball
basketball
game.
game.
They had to leave early.
Yeah. And the guy had to remind them that he did not care. But it was two of the players. They
Yeah,
were
no,
not interested in the fact that the royal family was there. They were not interested. They were trying to like get them all excited to talk about it, and they were just like, "Who? No, no. The only you mean Mary, Joseph, and Jesus, or whatever he said."
Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. He said.
Uh-huh. Oh, that was classic. That was classic.
See, the problem is that, like, well, I don't know if the players remember this, but like the first time they came, they were like, people being courteous to them, like Ron being courteous to them, and then the problem is they need to get their hound dogs, which is the British media. That anytime they go somewhere, if it's something awkward that they actually do, the British
Mhm.
media pins it on someone else. And and so imagine you are the person that was like, oh, okay, well, fine, they came here, I'll do a picture with them, fine. And then all of a sudden the media's like, how dare that person, that commoner, touch her? And I'm like, whoa, they asked me for a picture. So you know what? Fine. Don't come and talk to me anymore. Don't come to my place. Don't come visit. Right? And then you come back expecting adulation again? Like, no, no. Fool me once. Like, and so like, and then also Boston of all places. Like, I don't know why I feel like they were hoping for racism to help with them. But Boston is not the place for them to go.
Yeah, remember they thought that somebody might put a hit out on Queen Elizabeth back in 1976. They were afraid of the very Irish American community because that was during the days with all of the troubles, as they call it. So they were nervous for the Queen to be there. So yeah, that was an odd choice. And then
It made no sense.
Kate took that empty binder and went to, what was it, Harvard?
Right?
Yeah, she took that empty binder and went to Harvard so it could seem like she was hanging out with the rest of the intellectuals,
Right?
with the rest of the Mensa crowd. Yeah, good luck with that one.
But yeah, and see, I just don't see this need for this American. Like, remember the last thing that guy penned for her, like that supposedly was co-written, but like it was a guy from Harvard, and I'm like, wait, don't you all have Oxford? Like, what are you doing? Like,
Right, Oxford and Cambridge.
right? Like where? Who is messaging this? Like, you're trying to show yourself that you have an American audience, but you're just wasting resources right here, and no
Yeah,
one's buying that you miss. I can't string three words together. Like, no one's buying that you wrote any of this.
and it only lasts for about 12 hours, that story. And the Sussexes were in every paper and magazine about their parents' network and such. So whatever Kate was trying to do, it didn't even last a full news cycle,
It's
especially when she had no audible words to lend to the conversation.
it's very interesting, which probably they like. I would really hope that they think about this. Think about how much money they are spending to have their media the box, the whole like particularly like day shows, the tabloids go after Harry and Meghan, and yet Harry and Meghan are still thriving, and they just living their life, going about their days. Meghan raking in all this money, about to be a billionaire, and these haters are just still hating and wasting all their money doing it, and it's doing nothing but letting them thrive. I love it.
Well, I have to tell you, if you ever see a list of people credited with the Archie and Lily College Fund, don't be surprised if you see my name. After today, do not be surprised if you don't see my name, especially when I realized that there was a sparkling wine that I neglected to order.
Oh,
Oh, I
you
tell
didn't see
you,
that wine?
today.
Like, yeah, no, man. I got that candle, and like I got the gift box for the spreads. I was like, nope, definitely get that raspberry this time. Then I saw that they had a separate raspberry, but I was like, no, 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 got the gift box. Okay, but then I was that honey. That honey was making me debate that duo. I was just sitting looking like I didn't get that wild one. I didn't get that wild flower one last time. So
Well,
like
did you notice that the raspberry was not even in play for the first, what, 20 minutes or something like that? You couldn't even
yeah,
order it.
yes, no, like I was it was at 10:59, I was checking, it was nothing. And then I refreshed at 11 like central time. And I was like, okay, there's everything. But it said coming soon still with that
Right.
raspberry. And then it switched because I was like, wait, if it's in these boxes, the gift boxes, why is it not? And then it switched at that point. So yeah, it popped on later.
Well, I didn't even notice that that was strawberry. I thought it was two raspberries and orange marmalade. I didn't even notice it. I was in such a rush trying to hurry up and complete my basket so I could go in for the next one.
Right? No, some people didn't even notice that the candles, there was two different types of candles. Like they only saw the one because they looked the same unless you actually read, right?
Right. Yeah, and I can't remember whether I knew the difference or not, but I think I did since I ordered individually, so I think I did notice that.
Yeah, no, they have different flavors and notes and stuff like that. I ended up getting the
Mhm.
one for her birthday and stuff like that, but I also kind of wanted the one for her wedding. But I was like, I'm gonna get this one first, and I'll check and see that before I do it. I think they are doing a lot better in terms of the quantity and based off what we've heard from her from the Fortune women the powerful women summit, from her talking to Emma Greedy, from her talking to oh my god, I forget, Emily Chang, I believe, uh,
Yes.
from the Bloombergs. Like, it is so amazing to hear Meghan talk very clearly, intentionally, as well as knowledgeably about the business she's doing. She is clearly knowledgeable about what's going on, and she's considering the interests of the actual consumers, as well as like just running a business. So like I think when she first explained that to Immigrity about like it's great that we sell out, but that's not a good thing because then you think about customers' frustration of not being able to get it, like particularly that raspberry jam spread.
Right.
Like we were all like waiting for that. But I think what's going to happen is that considering where she lives, which is like they're in Southern California, so citrus, you would not have a problem with citrus. So I think you will always have no problem with the orange marmalade. However, the raspberries, they come in and out of season, right? So that's going to be the
Right.
difference to get. Uh, apricots, they have a particular season associated with them, but I don't know if it's some certain cultivars that you can do it all year. But I know here, like in the Midwest, like apricots come in at a certain point and then they go away. So I think we're going to constantly see certain seasonal varieties of the jam, but then we're going to spread. But then we'll like long as I think she's in California, they will have a lot of those citrusy ones. They will always have those.
Well, what about south of the equator? Um I mean, like, what doesn't isn't there fruit that comes from, like, let's say Central and South America?
Yeah. So with certain fruits, it depends. So since I grow a lot of like fruit and gardening where I live, the certain fruit needs a certain amount of cold hours, and some of them don't. Like say for instance, cherries,
Mhm.
their season is like in June, around Juneteenth. but they need a certain amount of cold hours, and during that cold hours to build up like the sugars. The same thing with like blueberries.
Oh, okay.
Blueberries are the same way, like gooseberries, pink blueberries, like those type of berries, currants. They need a certain amount of chill hours. So that's why people like Michigan a lot with stuff like that, because Michigan has a lot of water, but it also has those chill hours so they can get cold. So you can imagine in the wintertime, that doesn't work. Now, there are some cultivars of like various cherry trees that work in the warmer varieties, but they're not as, I won't say they're not as prolific, but the traditional ones that we eat come from that. The same thing with apples and stuff, right? Apples, they need a certain amount of chill hours, but you got to be careful with certain fruit trees. Um, and it's weird because they talk to each other. Some of them, sometimes the fruits don't come back every year. Like my peach trees this year they did okay. They had a pretty good yield. Last year they did nothing. And then I talked to my friend about peach trees. She had nothing. But then the year before, it was a crazy year. They overproduced. And the same thing happened to my friend. So whereas each year I get blueberries every year, I get raspberries every year, I get honeyberries every year, but certain trees are different. But I have some citrus trees, but here in zone 5A, you have to be careful. You can't plant those in the ground because they need like a warmer climate. So, and those are typically the citrus ones. And the citrus ones typically make a lot more fruit, sometimes actually during the wintertime. Like when I lived in Southern California, my friend, when I went to visit there, there's a lot of different kumquat cultivars. Like you have loquats, kumquats. There's a lot of different cultivars. Those produce a lot heavier. They produce most year, all year, but typically they produce a lot heavier during like wintertime for the Midwest. So like during that time, you'll have a lot of those. So it's just that like if you have fruit trees or certain fruits, some need cold hours in order to work. Like so with
Well,
the raspberries, you typically get the red raspberries during the summer, but you can have golden raspberries, which technically this is around the time for the or a little bit earlier for the golden raspberries. So I'm
I
actually
used
impressed that they have the red raspberries.
I used to go to summer camp up in Michigan, and in the daytime, it was a typical summer day, but at nighttime, that cold would creep in. I just could not understand how it got so cold at night in Michigan. And we slept under these wool blankets. We had a cabin, we slept on, and it was freezing. You just did not want to get out of bed to even go to take a piss because it was just that cold. And then the next day, it was summer again. It wasn't like snowing or frost or anything, but it was definitely a chill. So if that's what you're talking about, I can see, if a plant needs that, they will do very well because you got the warmth of the day, and then at night that chill sets in.
Yeah, no. So the coldness, unfortunately, from the Midwest, a lot of times it just rides over the lakes. So that's how you get it comes down off the lakes from Canada. So that's how
Right,
they get a lot of the cold coming down. Whereas you have that like in the plains you have that rain shadow effect, you know. So
right,
like after they go past the Rockies, that they're not doing anything. However, if you go at least further enough east, like let's say east, like where Houston is and stuff, you get the rain from the Gulf because the Gulf allows that rain to come up and hit Tornado Alley. So those places get water and stuff like that. But but yeah, no, it's a lot of citrus stuff in California. A lot of olives. You got a lot of avocados and stuff like that. But
and
if we're
people just grow that stuff on their properties, right?
oh yeah, yeah, no, some you need to have sometimes a certain type of draining soil. Citrus
Okay,
trees, you need to have a well draining soil. If you don't have well draining soil, they can get root rot, and then they'll just die. And
okay.
so you always got to be careful with if you're like potting citrus because you don't want them to sit in water because they'll just die.
Still, that must be nice. I mean, my grandfather, he had the wild berries. He had those berry trees in his backyard, and whenever we had our cookouts, I just remember, stepping on those things, during the cookout because the trees would yield. And you know what? I never ate them. I would now, but I was a kid. I'm just like, oh, that didn't come out of a jar. I don't want that.
No, it's a lot. A
No.
lot in the Midwest is a lot of like different type of blackberries and stuff like that. That are just you can just go to like if you see like a group of trees and stuff, you see these bushes, you can go up and you just grab them and they just grow everywhere. The same thing with raspberries. You got to be careful. Raspberries they spread, so you have to manage them if you want to be careful. Because what they will do is that the way it works with raspberries, they'll grow a green stalk. That year, when they grow that stalk, that will not produce fruit. The next year, that cane will produce fruit. So, and you can tell that it's a kind of alive because it kind of had its reddish hue. But then after it produces fruit, typically that cane doesn't produce fruit again, so you can get rid of it. So each year, what you do is you keep cutting them back, like ones that are produce fruit, and then some that make the new canes that will produce fruit the following year.
So what all are you growing?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have. What was that? I try to do a lot of things doing throughout the actual summer. So I do honeyberries. So people probably haven't heard of honeyberries as much. Honeyberries are they look a lot like blueberries, but they're elongated. They're actually a really hardy one that they can go down to negative 20 degrees, and they actually grow a lot in Canada too. Um, and what honeyberries, you might hear the word camaris. That's another name for them. But what they do is they look like elongated blueberries, and they start early. They actually start blooming in like April, and then you can like pick them in like May. I also have gooseberries. I also have raspberries. We have blueberries, pink blueberries, uh, red and black currants, peaches. We have oh, what am I missing? Oh, we have a plum tree now. I forgot we put that one in. We have two type of peaches. We have a one variety actually comes ready in later, like say September, but the other one is like a little bit more earlier, like say July. Plenty of cherry trees. Um, uh, and these cherries, I want to point out, there's two type of cherry trees. You have sweet cherry trees, and you have they call them sour cherry trees. If you think about what goes in a pie, those are typically the sour cherries. And the reason that that's the case is because people add a lot of sugar to that.
I was
Like
about to say that because you get to add the sugar. That's probably why it's so good because you got that pucker of the sour and then you got the sweet, which is
exactly.
just the way I would want it.
Now with cherry trees, you have two different types. You have the sweet ones, which are big, but they're not self-fertile, so they can't fertilize themselves. You have to have another one in order to make cherries. But those are typically bigger. But then you have the sour type cherry trees, which are typically self-fertile. And so they can actually fertilize themselves, but then you get a better yield if you cross-pollinate. You have to be careful with cherry trees. They are very finicky. Like if they get a certain certain code for a certain cultivars, they'll die and that's it. But now there are various cultivars that exist very well in very cold environments. It was a cultivar that was made in the University of Minnesota that can deal up to negative 40 degrees. And so that one's called like a North Star cherry tree. So if you wanted cherries, like if you were in Minnesota, you would do a North Star cherry tree. If you're in Illinois, depending on what part of you're in Northern Illinois, you can do North Star, but you can get away with some of the other varieties. But yeah, it always depends on what zone you're in. And then what was that? Oh, I said currants. I said that. Oh, I forgot strawberries, and I have a lot of citrus. So the citrus right now, but my citrus are in pot. I have a variated lemon, but it's called a pink lemon. So if you cut it, like it's very cool. On the outside, it looks yellow and green. You cut it open, it's like pink on the inside. So it's kind of like pink lemonade. I have a tangelo. That's a hybrid of like kind of a tangerine and like a what's the other one? Is it it's mandarin? I can't remember what that one is. I have a calamondin. That's like a hybrid of a tangerine and a kumquat. Um, caviar lime, and then lemons and limes. So I have a various amount of citrus, but those are the ones I keep in pots because like in region 5A, it might get too cold and it'll kill them. So you have to bring those in. But then they grow pretty well in pots.
I'm growing some what do you call them? Chives, those green onions?
Oh yeah, those grow pretty well.
Yeah. Oh, you can't kill them. That's why I'm doing so well with them. And I just take my scissors and I go out there, but I guess I'm gonna lose them for the winter. But this is like the
Yeah.
second year that I've grown those.
Yeah, well, those sometimes grow back. It just depends on and they spread everywhere. You got to be careful unless you want that. So I just
They're
think
in a
we're
pot.
yeah, okay, that's good. If it's in a pot, you can technically bring it in if you want.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yeah.
And
Because the
it'll
way
grow
I
back.
started it was I took the bulb from something from the grocery store. I want to show you this gown that Queen Maxima is wearing with all the little cutouts in it, but I'm trying to find because it's a video, and I'm trying to find a photo. I cannot believe the Queen wore this, but it. I may just have to screenshot the actual thing. Oh yeah, you know what? If I do that, then I can search it by the image or whatever. But you will not believe this gown that she's wearing. You know, I got a crush on her.
Well, she's very pretty.
Yeah, and thick. She's very thick. She is. She's adequate. I don't know. I just she just seems very chill. Um, and I like the fact that even though she's not a plus size, but she's definitely she's a big girl, and she wears what she wants to wear, and it always looks good on her.
Well, she's healthy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just think Megan would as ever like we're gonna get certain things during certain seasons based off of when they're available. Granted, she probably has um certain fruits uh, that she's taking care of in different locations, maybe in the U.S. I don't know if they expanded outside of the U.S. yet. Um, I will be actually very interested to see if they do any product drops this winter, because if it's this winter, a lot of that stuff is going to come directly from California mainly. So it'll be interesting to see what particular like say spreads that she might do. But like at least with raspberries, you can get away with that with many different places. Like it can be in the Midwest. You can get like raspberries grow pretty well mostly everywhere. Um, and the oranges and citrus go very well in California, so she'll be loaded with citrus like there. But I just think we're gonna have certain seasonal things that pop up like when things start. Because like her first seasonal drop was like what was it, April or something like that, wasn't it? When
Hmm.
things sold out, and so that threw me off because my raspberries weren't even ready yet. So I was like, wait, where's her raspberries? So that's what was throwing me off because I was like, okay, maybe they have it on their own.
But don't they have a way of storing fruit? Like I know bananas, don't they gas them or something?
It,
And they
what quality of food? It depends. So like you know how like you can go to the store, you can get like frozen vegetables or something like that.
right,
Um, that is a certain quality that you allow things to freeze, and it's a certain quality you allow that you should be allowing to process instantly and use. You know what I mean?
right.
So like the way that we were looking at hers, when I saw hers in that video, when they have that line and stuff like that, those are all very fresh. Raspberries, you have to be very careful. If you
Oh, they're
like,
delicate.
yes, they're very delicate, and you do not want to wash those and have those store for too long. If you are washing them, you are using them right away because
Now,
yeah,
I soak mine in like one part water, one part vinegar. As soon as I get it home, at least if I'm not going to eat them right away, just to kill that fungus. Because they always get that fungus, and I do that, and it seems like they last longer. And then I let them air dry, and then I put them in the refrigerator.
like sometimes we do that. They start leaking and bleeding. You have to be careful and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
because you don't want to like have any brisk water on them. You
Right.
don't want to because the more you handle them, the more you're going to damage them. You're going to lose a few.
Yeah, there's certain fruit that you're not supposed to wash. So, like, say for instance, blueberries to make them last longer. Like when people are picking them, they don't wash them because that outer skin protects them. So,
Yeah, they got some kind of dust on them, right?
yes, like blueberries, they have like this film on them that actually protects them and makes them last longer. If you wash them, you can lose some of that. So then they wouldn't last as long. So like that's why a certain fruit, if you were going to eat it, if you get it from the store, you should always you should wash it anyway, but you should wash it before you get it because people probably haven't washed it because otherwise it wouldn't last as long.
Okay, I found the dress. It doesn't look as interesting when she's not moving, but I'm gonna put it up there anyway. Um, this is one
Well,
of
I'm
those.
curious,
I'm
what
like,
do you think? What do you think? Why are they going after Royal Lodge now? What is the urgency? Like,
because of the book, because of the book,
mm,
and I think William is probably maybe he just is like really dissatisfied with Royal Lodge, and he wants to make this, or maybe Charles is not well, like maybe he's trending in a way that William feels like if I don't do it now, then it's going to be my headache later. It's hard to say.
I
It's
feel
really
like
hard to say.
yeah, it seems
So
like
random and out of the
on
blue.
their part in terms of okay, we have Virginia's book out, so maybe we can get end route here out of this at the time. Um, but like the thing is, all these homes that William keeps acquiring, him and Kate, we clearly know Forest Lodge looks like it's going to be Kate's forever. Okay, that's my new stage in life home. I'm settled away from William, and I can already imagine that like they're taking at those children's nature center so she can make her own garden, so she can be like, look, nature gardening. I've always appreciated and done this myself, and I wonder where she got that idea. Um, but like I think that's her settlement home. So with Royal Lodge, I'm trying to figure. I'm like, what does Willie want to do with it? Like, I don't know if he's acquiring properties for his kids later on. You see what I mean? Um, but it's the one thing I have to say about the Queen is that she made sure those homes that each of her children have were all very nice. She made sure they all had a very good home. So it's weird to see Charles just treated his kids like, it's just like it just rubs wrong. And I don't understand how he expects himself to be adored when people see the way you treat your child.
It works for him because of the smear campaign, because they have created the narrative that Harry is selfish and stupid and that he is controlled by Meghan. That's why it works.
Well,
And it's
but isn't that weird? Because didn't people say the same thing about him and Camilla?
Yeah, but right now they have Harry to pick on, so none of that matters because Camilla made her deals with the press, and Charles, of course, was right along with her with the deals that they made with the press, and essentially they have gotten, I guess, a promise of endless opportunities and information where they could go after the Sussexes. And maybe they're not getting as much out of that deal because, Harry never came back. Meghan definitely is not coming back. So they don't have as much material as they bargained for. But just the same, Sussexes has more than made up for any deficit because they have been so active. I think for the past 2 years, they've had far more exposure in California than they were likely to have in the UK, only because in the UK they would have been conflicting with other schedules and such. But since they don't have to adhere to the rest of the senior royal schedules, they can pretty much do stuff as they please. So 2024 was really the kickoff of their more public profile. And then, of course, with the as ever, Meghan has to really project a lifestyle. She has to sell her lifestyle because it's all part of the products. Is that all of this is coincides with her lifestyle, and that her soft life, her comforts, her taste, all of that is in concert as one, and so she has to be seen at this point. There's not going to be any more of the long periods of quiet. At least I don't think. As long as she has products and such coming out, she can't afford that any longer. Plus, the kids are getting bigger. You know,
Right.
they're more than settled into their home, and of course they are well into whatever routine that they're going to have for x amount of time. So um Harry is comfortable with the culture, I'm guessing, because you know he knows how things work. Is very different when you come over and you hear certain things but you don't recognize the equivalent in the language, even though it's the same language. But now he knows, and he went from someone who would have never had an electric bill or a mortgage and all that kind of stuff, and now he's living the American dream for what that's worth.
All right, I had to go back to the chat because Hazel Jones says they're using the public sentiment to help push Andrew out, which, yep, I believe definitely right, Hazel Jones. And that Eddie's girl followed up. King, the KC3 is moving close to the Lord. Camilla needs to a dower home. Royal Lodge works. She can fit at all the Bowls minions in it. That's very true.
Yeah.
uh, the Green Farm says K3 moving closer to the Lord or closer to Satan.
Well,
But he's going some direction.
yeah, the security that is afforded, let's say that after some point they don't justify as much security for Camilla with the Ray Mill home, right? As long as she's on a Windsor estate, she can have herself and her kids, her grandkids. They will be able to graze and run free or whatever they do. They'll have the whole wide open property to work with, and the family can continue to grow in a very secure way. It is a dowager house. It's all about status, and at the end of the day, her status as a consort does not see her living in Ray Mill, even though she pretends that she's just a simple country girl and that's all she wants out of life. Um, she has no hesitation about raiding the jewelry boxes. So I'm sure she recognizes that the same woman who wears a $25 million brooch cannot just live at the Ray Mill. She needs to be over in the Dowager House. That is what her status requires. And even though I don't like her, I like to look at it like this: whether it's a president I voted for or did not vote for, if that's the custom or protocol that comes with that life before and after the White House, then I think that whether you like the person or not, that's what they're supposed to have. And it's the same with Camilla. If it was someone that I, was fond of, I would still say, or not fond of, that that's what comes with it. So that's what she's supposed to have.
Right. Well, but you're wrong in one part there. That's
Mhm.
typically for elected head of state.
What's
These,
that?
that's typically for elected head of state. These aren't elected head of state.
Well, I mean, but the Dowager House, it's been a tradition for that particular property. I don't know how many consorts have stayed there. So I'm just saying, Charles, who is strictly a traditionalist, for him, who keeps dressing up, like a magician, I would imagine I would imagine that Charles is probably pushing it more than Camilla really cares for it. But Camilla, at the same time, she wants something that fits her status as the Dowager Queen Consort. So I
Well,
just think that that's the whole thing is that they feel like that is what's befitting someone of her station.
yeah, well, the question I have though is that if Charles goes from this earth before Camilla does, do you actually think William will allow her to stay there?
Now,
Because
see,
I feel like she has stuff on him, but he has stuff on her, and they both have their media minions right now, and I think he's trying to establish himself and make sure he builds up his particular court, as you say, to like take her out, and yet at the same point he still will be the king of that country, right? So,
mhm,
like what he says would be technically the law for what as he decrees it.
for the
So,
family.
yes, exactly. So,
Well, but with the lease that Andrew has, Andrew is being embarrassed and pressured out of the house. They have no legal standing to evict him. They just don't. Um, but the public, if the public starts prying into his affairs and that of the rest of the royal family, which none of them want that, not even Andrew, to save himself, he do not want that to happen because once they start digging, all kind of stuff is going to come out. So he is being pressured out of the house. He's going to get some sweetheart deal of financial settlement and or another place to live, which makes it the right thing to do because um, if he ever expects to appear in public for any reason, even to go to a restaurant, if he expects to do that without someone booing and yelling obscenities and such to him, he has to come out of that house. There's just no way he can stay there.
well,
It
but
morally, it is too. It's a non-starter for him to keep that home.
right, well, but my problem is that like the media has switched this to him not keeping a home and these luxuries because he's disgraced versus him actually being investigated. Because as you said, they don't want to be investigated, but technically what needs to happen is they need to investigate to see if there's anything that is in compromising what he's done. And they can say all they want, like, oh well, he's been allegedly and all this stuff. You don't give because he didn't allegedly give. You don't give $12 million to someone that you don't know that you didn't sweat on if there's no truth to it,
Right.
right? So they can do all this hullabaloo about like he's allegedly this, allegedly that, but my my point is that like more than likely, like they can say it's from embarrassment or whatever the heck it is, whatever they spin it to be, but it's more than likely he allegedly did what they said he did, and seeing how they have proof, and they and to be fair, he knows all the stuff going on. Like people, if I was him, like maybe might want to spill about Charles and Saville. Maybe I want to spill about Charles and Lord Mountbatten, right? Like, so it's all this stuff that he also even has on them, which is probably the reason why they haven't gone anywhere. And then with William all in 2024, for God's sakes, what like that nonsense? Like Camilla, that's why she looked like that cat sipping that milk. She was just getting more and more and more on him. And now, like, Kate's come back into the quote unquote fold. Um, but like, and they're treating her back the way she is. But like, uh, there's still just animosity between the Buckingham Palace as well as the Kensington Palace. And William is at the point where he's just like, you know what? I'm just going to say, make them talk about me being king because this makes me look authoritative. And maybe that makes people want to look up to me, or maybe that's having people work to the point or sucking up to him, right? Because he wants that adulation from people. He wants that deference. And he's just basically trying to move things in his court. If I was Charles, I would like put a kibbutz on that. And the way Charles does it, he's not really stopping William from doing this. He's more or less what he's doing, if anything, he's just embarrassing William. So as we saw with the state dinner, he purposely made William and Kate go over to Trump and bring them back, but then he made them stand outside of that tent. Now, if you remember, that is the area that they delegated for Harry and Meghan. Because remember when they went to that museum or whatever it was, they
Right.
made sure the Queen, as well as Charles and Camilla, walked by, and William and Kate, and they made Harry and Meghan go the whole long route around, and Meghan, while she's pregnant, walk around, and then Charles had that little snippy remark towards Harry before he went there, like, "Don't come here." You think Harry and Meghan don't know that they're not supposed to follow you after the first time? No, you purposely wanted the cameras to see you rebuking them for no apparent reason because you think that makes you look like an authoritarian or gives you some power. So they do that and they ignore it. Then Camilla had the nerve to go over to Harry to try to get a kiss or something, and then looks at Meghan or something like that. And then she walks back over to Kate and then gestures towards her stomach, like, "Oh, look at her at her stomach," because Kate has a friend now, but they're mocking Meghan and Harry. And so when I'm sitting here, I'm like, why in the world would you bring someone to try to demean them and humiliate them in front of everyone? If you didn't want them to be there because of their popularity, then don't have them be there. But I think the issue is that they secretly hate them because the media wanted Harry and Meghan to be there. They wanted those photos. So anytime when they recognize that the media wants Harry and Meghan for the photos, they bring them, but they're like, while we bring you, we're going to humiliate you in front of everyone. So that's why William and Kate are no longer in the actual tent. And that's why whenever Charles turns, if you remember back to, what's it, South Korea, when the South Korean president came,
Right.
every time he turned towards William and Kate, you saw them kneeling or William getting a head gesture. He must have told them, anytime you look at me, you're supposed to give me deference. And so he's humiliating them in public to show that. And so that's why I think William is annoyed. And there's a issue between the houses because William doesn't like when he's not in control. And basically everything he wished for Harry and Meghan is happening to him.
Well, do you remember when I said Kensington Palace is William's kingdom? Remember I used to say that? And everything everything and anything that happens there, William has the last word. That was one part of the realm that he had control of. Uh, the Queen did not ever come there. Charles had no business there. So William was throwing his weight around at Kensington Palace. And I'm sure a lot of it was just a bunch of petty, what is Harry and Meghan doing? Let me know if you see this or that or whatever. And a lot of that too was coming from his courtiers, but that was his kingdom. He was like a little dictator there. And that's why Harry and Meghan, they could not even do business from Kensington Palace because whatever was said or done, they were going to have to answer to William at the end of the day. And every so called advisor or secretary for the Sussexes, every article, it seems like they would say they were there for Harry and Meghan. And then at some point it'd say, and also for William and Kate. Simon Case, um, Jason Knopf, and even Christian Jones, all three of them, they were supposed to be something to Harry and Meghan, and then it would say, and also Will and Kate, which
Oh, don't
means,
forget that lady, the Rebecca the Panther.
oh yes,
Her
yes,
too.
yeah, that one as well. She was supposed to be there, but you know what? I don't think she dealt with William. I don't think she dealt with William at all. Her job was to keep an eye on Meghan. She
Yeah.
wasn't even there to look at Harry. And if I recall, she said the reason why she left is because they were carrying on like a couple of lovesick puppies in high school or something like that, and she just could not stand to be around them. And that's what I think a lot of the well, how do you say it? What is it? Body dysmorphia, whatever. When you're not happy with yourself and
Right.
you're you ain't got no man, and that kind of thing. I think all of them, those women of a certain age, had that kind of hostility really against Meghan, and they would take it out on Harry. Hazel Jones, I'm going to put the link up there. Do you want to get in here because you're making some very good points, and I don't want to keep missing the really interesting stuff that you're saying. So I'm going to put the link up there Again, I'm going to put it at the top of the chat. So if you want to get in here, please do. Um, we'd love to have you. Camilla should be sprucing up the barn for. Camilla should be sprucing up the barn for her retirement. Yeah.
Gotta get her flowers.
Well, and Hazel Jones was saying, let's see, it says here, William also doesn't like to work. Camilla can go to Ray Mill and say the travel from is too much for her 80-plus-year-old self. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Ray Mill is not a very large house, and I just think that they want her to have some type of opulence, and they have to get this deal done while Charles is alive because it's going to take leverage to get Andrew out of there. And I don't know if William has the juice for it. I don't think William has the stomach for it. I don't think that Andrew would ever, you know, rat out Charles because obviously they have some kind of agreement. Okay, 5 minutes. But I think that as far as William and Andrew are concerned, I think that maybe William might be afraid to test him or something. I don't know that Andrew would ever rat anybody out because to do that, then he's putting his daughters at risk.
Well,
Risk of losing this, risk of not being protected from that, and mhm.
No, continue before I say something.
No, I'm good.
No, you put up Fergie just reminded me of something. Like, remember I was saying wow, why did they leak out that Royal Lodge stuff? But remember, they also leak out the stuff about Fergie. And I realized what they're doing to Andrew is what they were trying to do to the Sussexes after that year they were gone. They got to squeeze everyone around them, right? So, like, they clearly want Royal Lodge, and Andrew's like, nope, like, screw you, I'm not doing it. So, the reason they went to Fergie, if anything, if you think about it, people said Fergie was that one person that she can go and quote unquote not represent, but represent the monarchy and say good things about them on the talk shows because she was at least media trained enough for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then she could always go out and get like other money, like she was basically being able to get the money. I don't know how much if she's sharing any with Andrew, but she's able to get the money to have some kind of financial quote unquote independence from the family, right? So what they did is that with Fergie, like leaking those emails and showing her involvement, they're making her a person non grata. So now she's not going to go on these shows and say anything or talk about it because people are going to be like, well, we have to address the elephant in the room, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now she can't like make some of those books. She can't do all that other stuff because now she's a person non grata. So like whatever lifeline or money that she's able to get, that's gone now. And so they're squeezing on her. And then if you think about it, then he started going squeezing on Beatrice and Eugenie. Like, even though I think that story is a little like, I don't think that possibly happened because it's like you can't take. So it's very well when I hear them saying they're going to strip the titles. What they truly mean is that the king or whoever that is in charge at the moment, they can take the HRH. It's like, okay, who cares? You can't, but you can't take Prince or or the other titles that are bestowed upon them unless they're act of parliament. Now, however, I do agree that they might be able to wield enough power to force parliament to do that, and they're going to have some people in power to do that. But I'm going to stop talking right now because we got Hazel Jones here, so I'm going to let her.
All right, come on in here, Hazel. What's going on?
Hi. Hold on, I think I need to mute the original live. Okay, can you guys hear me?
Oh, I hear you just fine.
Very
okay,
well.
good. My thoughts on it is that William and Kate are extremely lazy. Everyone is getting very old, and they need someone to show up somewhere sometime, So, Camilla could easily go to her house and say, "Oh, this is just too much for me to have to travel all the way from the country to come up to the city to do this or do that. I can't do it." And just live on whatever money Charles has left her,
Mm-hmm.
Because we know Charles has been giving her money. since a divorce. We know he's going to leave her money in his will when he dies. She'll be well taken care of. And the government will never allow security to be removed from a crown queen consort.
Right.
So
Okay.
I think Camilla right now, when it comes to housing, has kind of an upper hand.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're running out of housing also because they didn't like to fix things. And rather than upkeep buildings, they tore them down.
Oh, so even if they found something in their portfolio, it would start a lot of public debate because whatever they choose, they're going to need to sink some money into it.
It's going to be jacked up. When
Right.
Charles moved into Clarence's house, it took about 2 years for him to be able to move in there because the Queen Mother lived there from the day her daughter was crowned queen until she died. Over 50 years, right?
Yeah. And that's a
And
lot of
she
whiskey bottles to trip over.
and not only that, she didn't paint anything, she didn't fix anything. Everything in there was what Prince Philip had installed when he and Elizabeth were newlyweds. They're
Oh,
slumlords.
wow.
That's the
Yeah,
important.
Philip was the last one that did any work on Clarence House until, until Charles.
And me, I think Andrew was a fool to take on Royal Lodge because the Queen Mother had been in there before she was queen. That's where Elizabeth and Margaret grew up until their father became king. And they never gave up Royal Lodge to any other family member. They kept it.
Yeah.
They lived in Windsor Castle and they lived in Royal Lodge.
But they have a lot of, because people hear like what there's 22 um what is it, 30, 32 or 22, something like that, properties, but then there's all these other houses that they have purchased over the years, and I don't know if anybody knows the exact number.
Right,
Every time
because
you think about it, another house is added to the portfolio that they've owned since 1870 this or 1890 that.
unfortunately, Hurricane Katrina took all my books that I had. So most of my sources are pre-Royal Rhoda days. But from my readings, from what I can remember, is that as pieces of estates would come up for sale, kings would buy. Whoever would buy the purchase whatever was adjacent to Windsor Estate. And that's
Right.
how it's gotten so big. That's why and that's why they all have these different names. So, you know, and then King George went broke fighting us in the Revolutionary War, and he had
Hmm.
to sign it over to Parliament, and that's where it is now. Now it belongs to the people of England.
So it was because of the Revolutionary War that they started using that whole complicated, convoluted math where this goes here and then that goes there and then it goes back to that, and
Hmm.
that whole circle of money. That's when that started.
Right, with the Crown Estates.
Right.
And
Okay.
and they've been busy wiping the internet of lots of old stories. I can't find any old story of Charles talking about talk of Charles not wanting to sign over the Crown Estates when he becomes king. And the only person
Oh, okay.
and the only person I can remember who remembers that is my brother, because when the queen died, he said, "Now we're gonna see what happened." And I'm like, "What?" He reminded me. He's like, "Remember, old boy is not gonna sign over the Crown Estates. He's not gonna want to, but they're gonna make him." I said, "You think so?" He said, "Yeah.
So
Parliament is gonna force him."
does that have to happen every time there's a new sovereign, that they have to like volunteer to sign over the crown estates as
Yes,
opposed to just claiming it outright?
yes.
I did not know that.
So that day when he was so pissy in the accession room,
Right.
I
Oh.
was like,
Now it makes sense.
because Liz Truss put him in a headlock and said, "Sign these damn papers so I could be king."
Now it makes sense. Now it makes
Oh
sense.
my
I was
God!
wondering why he was so agitated. So that was the part of the session that he was trying to figure out how to avoid it.
Right,
Do I or don't I? Will I
right.
sign or will I? So like that movie, the last what was it? Charles III. That movie Charles III. It was kind of like one of those moments where you are expected to act accordingly. And for whatever reason, Charles III in that particular movie, which was based on the play, decided that he's not going to do the usual just sign it. You know, he wants to have an impact or whatever. And so in the movie, Charles III, that is how he got in trouble because of a situation like this where the king or queen always signs, and it would be like a constitutional crisis if they don't.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay, I got it.
As a sidebar, you and I watched the change of command in Luxembourg because I sent you that link, right?
Right, I did watch that.
Now, the outgoing Grand Duke lost a lot of power because he refused to sign a bill allowing abortion. And his parliament just knuckled down on him and just about took everything, all his powers away from him.
Now, is that something that's permanent, or will the heir get some of those privileges back?
Will not get it back because then they also investigated the heir's mother for bullying, and she was a bully.
Right.
So these parliaments have a lot of power, and they just go la di da la di da, and they
And
talk to them
that's why
quietly.
they can't have Andrew in they can't have Andrew resisting. He needs to just do the right thing and leave, because if they start asking questions and investigating, it
Hmm.
has a ripple effect.
Right. The the populace is upset. They're talking to their MPs, and their MPs are getting antsy, and they're gonna want to see their MPs do something, and they're gonna drag him in there. So it's time, Andrew. You got to go, boy. Bye.
Mhm. Well, you guys, we got Hazel Jones here. This is
Bye.
the opportunity to ask Hazel Jones. So you better seize this moment while it's available, because who knows when this will happen again.
True. I
So get
mean,
those questions up there.
but one of my main points is that the Crown Estate has been terrible at maintaining properties. Look at the place Frogmore Cottage. That was built by Queen Charlotte for her daughters. And over the years, they just ran it down into what Harry and Meghan inherited and had to fix up. And they shouldn't have fixed it because with asbestos and everything else that was in it, the Crown Estate should have repaired that because it's a grace and favor house.
Okay, Antoinette Kennedy says that Charles never transferred his items. I think that was because he did not think Willie was interested in it.
Right.
William wants stuff in his own name. He does not want to walk in his father's shadow. So I'm guessing that that's why that never happened, because Charles certainly does not want him to run his legacy into the ground. He wants it intact by the time he goes down to the storm cellar over there at the St. George Chapel, in the George VI chapel, under the floorboards and the black stone.
Right. Charles turned the Prince's Trust into the King's Trust. And he has the last time I checked, David Linley, Princess Margaret's son, was working there. India Hicks was there, his goddaughter, and I believe Crown Prince Pavlos also. But I don't follow the King's Trust anymore because I kind of don't like India Hicks, and I don't trust Crown Prince Pavlos either.
Oh,
Because
is
he
that
had
the
that.
one that was the Cash for Honor?
The King's
No,
Trust? No.
the one that was Cash for Honor. He's in the House of Commons or something, right?
Yeah,
or he's a
yeah.
peer of some sort.
He's some kind of peer or whatever. These are all relatives that Charles has at the King's Trust right now, at the top of the King's Trust,
Okay.
working. But you don't hear much about any work that they do because they don't really care about the things that Charles used to care about either. So all of that is just going to go to the
What
wayside.
about Highgrove? My guess is Highgrove becomes a museum
I think so.
because William doesn't want it.
I think so. And it might be owned by the King's Trust. He might have used the Prince Trust at that time
Oh,
to buy it. So it's probably owned by the King's Trust. So it'll be a museum.
along with the Dumfries house.
Right.
And the Dumfries house, I believe that for the large sums they donated, there's a lot of moneyed people, the nouveau riche and such, that have access to that house and they can use it like a Airbnb. I don't know if still happens after Charles is gone, but a lot of those people that have donated, they tend to frequent that house, I believe, whenever they want to. They seem to have access, but I don't know if that happens only if Charles is there or not. But I know
I,
that I took the tour, and I believe some spaces were off limits. And Charles and Camilla frequently stayed at Dumfries' house. They don't seem to do it as much, but
right. My guess is that after Charles is gone, if you have enough money, you'll be able to stay there. It won't matter.
okay,
It'll be up for grabs. It
okay.
But
won't have it won't be a they won't have all the regulations that Charles has on it. And I think things will be very relaxed.
You think they'll move some people into Buckingham Palace, like anyone who wants to take residence, like maybe a few apartments? Because what's Zeta Jones? They live at St. James, right?
Who?
Catherine Zeta Jones, doesn't she live at St. James or one of those other places she has as an address?
I know Tom Cruise lives at St. James Palace. So,
Okay,
so she
it, it,
probably does too. I mean, but they're paying market value
oh,
right.
for
I
those.
guess I guess she was Welsh.
Mhm.
Well, it's a prestigious address, and I do believe there's people that live at the Palace of Versailles. I mean, it's a big place, and you can absorb some very moneyed, well-paying people who just really want the prestige of having that address and occasionally access to some of those spaces. But it's a way to bring revenue in, and I believe that at some point, since Charles doesn't want to ever go to Buckingham Palace, William is not interested in it. They're going to do something with that space. I mean, it will be part museum, and
I
it's
mean,
going
whenever they
to,
finish. I'm sorry.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. That was pretty much it.
I mean, whenever they finish it, because the Queen also never repaired anything. So
Yeah,
what's the timeline for repairs on Buckingham Palace? Another 5 years or something like that?
yeah. And that's what happened to the White House back in the 40s is that they trashed that place. They were buying furniture from like the Sears catalog. No kidding. They were putting holes through a wall to do this. They were drilling into that, and they didn't have much regard. There was nobody knew what the plans or blueprints. So they just did things. And that's exactly what happened to Buckingham Palace is that over years, they still had wires covered in cloth, like when electricity was new. They'd run a line or a hose or this or that, willy nilly wherever they wanted to. And I've seen some of those like manor houses that are on the verge of collapse because the people that did renovation and stuff, they had no understanding of a load bearing wall. And also the Elysee Palace, it also had a period when it was on the verge of collapse because it wasn't well made in the first place. So it's a lot of these castles and palaces, or even the White House, that at some point they have to gut the place and start over, which is what happened to the White House in the 40s.
Right, right. Upkeep is key, especially with these historic buildings, but they don't seem to believe in that.
Yeah, the
Um,
queen just go and get a little electric heater, and she's like, "See, it's fine. It's fine."
that Edie girl wants to know what would happen if Chuckles left Highgrove to the Successes.
Oh, I'm
Um,
sorry. Let me highlight that. Was that? Oh, I see it
that
there.
Edie girl, yeah.
Well,
Uh,
see, I'm confused on Charles because he wants, apparently that they let that leak on purpose, that he wants them there for his funeral. My problem is that the way he's behaving currently, why would Meghan ever go? And I don't even know why Harry should go. Like,
Exactly.
Harry probably would go, but it is no reason for Meghan to go, because what this tells me is that Charles wants that adulation even in death. He wants people to pay attention to his funeral. And we saw how they behaved the last time at a funeral. And if they can't put it, bring it together at that particular point where they're supposed to be mourning someone versus being petty for no particular reason, like he takes off he first wasn't Harry wasn't allowed to use the uniform. Then after people point out that Andrew's allowed, so then he let Harry use it. Then he takes off the letters. Then he makes Harry walk without his uniform with them, which was just funny because the pictures look like Harry was actually the king with a geriatric actual security guard around him. And so it's like all that pettiness at a funeral bothered me because, like, I don't know how they do funerals in the UK, and I'm hoping I'm just misreading the royals, but who wears all that gaudy, like, jewelry at a funeral? And that you're obviously ostracizing one person for no particular reason. The thing is, at funerals, you're supposed to honor that person. Let whatever it is petty aside. You shouldn't. The optics should be that you are united as a family. They clearly pointed out that you are not a family, and we don't like you here. So my point, if I was Meghan, if Charles in his things like, oh, they need to be at my funeral, I wouldn't go. Because, like, first of all, while you are currently living, you are not giving me security. You are not giving my husband security. You're not giving my children security. You're ensuring that we get hurt if we come to England by using a smear campaign that you haven't put anything against. You haven't stopped it from going. And then you expect me to come over. Oh, besides calling me that woman, you expect me to come over for your funeral so that the camera could be on you and that you can have an audience. I will pass. So
I would too. I would too. And even if he left Highgrove to Harry if it belongs to the Prince's Trust or the King's Trust, he could not leave it to them outright. He could write in a will like, well, I want them to live here through their lifetime, and then it reverts back to the King's Trust or something like that. But I wouldn't want to be there. I mean, she would be perfect for it because she likes organics, and apparently that place is fantastic, but no, I wouldn't bother with him.
my question is, why would he even bother doing that if he's behaving right now like an a-hole? He won't even give them
Uh,
security to visit. He doesn't care to visit the kids.
Charles is wishy-washy.
He
Charles
is,
is
but
wishy.
he
You
is,
know,
but he isn't. He has been the most vindictive he has been for the Sussexes. He hasn't even been vindictive for. And I think the reason he's vindictive to them and petty is because he knows they're actually good people. Because they won't sink him. They have so much information to probably sink him. Harry himself does. But he won't do it because he's like, you know what? I'm just going to live my life and just ignore you all. And what did they say? It was like, oh, so you're going to live your life, huh? Well, we're unhappy, so we want to make sure you're unhappy. So we're going to do all of us. We're going to hire bots. We're going to stick the media at you. We won't give you security. And even when Harry was over there visiting him in September, the police came at the airport for him, and we all thought, and it threw me off for a second because I was like, oh crap, that whole bespoke security, maybe they do care, but I felt like I was taken in again. We all thought that maybe Charles sent that security because he's like, well, Harry's here for an event and he gets security. So I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. Only to find out later that the police thought that it would be it was weird that Charles that Harry didn't have security. So they took it upon themselves to give him security.
Yeah. The Met said nothing's happening on our watch. No one's gonna hang this on us. And they were right to cover their asses.
Because they knew exactly where it would fall on. But and then they see articles come out later that Charles was mad that they gave him security. And then, so people have to offer him security to be in his homeland. And then he goes to meet with this guy. And he leaks it, of course, to everyone. So they're all waiting for Harry to come for pictures. And then those people say, like, oh, yeah, and Charles, they had a good chat. And da, da, da. I'm like, wait, why do you all know this? Oh, okay. But Harry better make sure he doesn't leak. And then they go to leak this stuff. And then at this particular point, I'm like, wait, so you just care about your image. You care about, appearing to be reconciling. But Harry doesn't have a home there still that you stole, that they paid for. And you're not giving Meghan security or the grandkids security. And you make it seem like you are reconciling when you started all of this, but you want us at your funeral, but not in your face when you're alive. I'm like, no, it is pass. You can go and enjoy the hell that you create yourself.
Yeah, I mean, oh my God, Charles. He is the weirdest Scorpio ever. I would have reined I would have reined William in. If William was my son, I would have reined him in. I would have sat my mother down. I would have said, look, this little thing that you two cooked up, it's not working. It's going to blow up in everyone's faces. And I'm not going to help y'all when it blows up. Y'all going to have to fix it yourself. And I would have left him. If I was Charles, I would have never been at Sandringham Summit. Never.
Well, but it seems like the Sandringham Summit was because of William and Charles, right? It seems like William was the main problem, and they all knew. So it's various points where Charles could have stopped. He could have, when Camilla started leaking stuff on his own children, he should have been like, yo, don't do that. I know they were rehabilitating her image, but she should have been like, don't do that. But he didn't care because
he was in collusion with Camilla with that. Exactly. They were in collusion. But I firmly believe, and I know a lot of people not going to think this way because they all had nice, sweet grandmothers, and they think their grandmothers are nice and sweet and wouldn't do something like that. But William was in collusion with the Queen because he couldn't go as far as he went with that stuff with Harry and Meghan if she didn't rein him in.
I think the problem with the Queen, she was, and I want to say this nicely, in the sense of, you know how you have that, you have those sweet grandmothers in the family, and they're the type that they always want to keep people together, but they have this problematic cousin or the problematic son that they're like, but that person's causing all the drama in the family, but they won't rein that person in, and they won't give their actual opinion to that person, even though that person's causing all the drama. I think at that point she because she didn't rein in Angela Kelly, right? Angela Kelly was being vicious to Meghan and Harry, and I think in conclusion with William, she was being vicious. And so William probably told her yo, Meghan's gonna try to get a tiara like everyone's supposed to, but I don't want her to have one because I think that I want to make sure that people remember the last wedding is me and Kate. I want to make sure that Meghan recognizes her place and she has an emotion. So since no tiara came about, I think the Spencers were like, oh well, yeah, Meghan, you can use our tiara. So I think I don't know who let it slip or how they found out that Meghan was going to get that tiara, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
Meghan is intentional in everything she does. So her veil clearly went for the Spencer tiara, and she has that all designed out. But as soon as they found out, like, oh crap, we cannot have her wear the Spencer tiara. Okay, and I don't think necessarily Charles and the Queen found out. I think William found out, and he was like, no, because William was already setting himself up, which is why they were in Kensington Palace. No, Diana's memory is my memory. I'm the memory of Diana. Harry was just going to be the back scrub or whatever it was, but he wanted his children and Kate to be the memory of Diana, which is why, like, they came up with that stupid story about that blue ring that Kate got, right? And that's why Kate kept dressing like Diana for most of the time, right? Besides the Queen every now and then too. And so he wanted all of that. He wanted to be essence to be Diana, which is why, oh look, they renovate Kensington Palace, and that's what William is, right? Because that's what Diana was. So he's trying to take every instance of his mom and just make it be him to make sure he takes her memory. And so, but you know how possessive it is. So Harry can't have any of that memory, right? So in comes Meghan, and Harry comes with a new ring, right? That's a gorgeous ring.
Right.
And then Meghan is a breath of fresh air where Kate can't compare, right? And I still hate comparing women like this because it's always the women they compare. They never compare to men, something like that. But with those comparisons out there, William sees her as a threat. So he's like, no, she cannot have a tiara. We're not going to do it. We're going to stall it because we want to make it as awkward as possible to let them know we have control. And so I try not to compare to women, but Kate has done no favors for me. Like that mean girl act with her, like, oh, you need to change this, you need to change, like that, like as if she knows fashion, as if she knows the fittings, and then going to her own wedding dress designer to try to, like, this ain't your wedding. This is Meghan's
Exactly.
wedding.
I'm going
Right.
to interrupt for just 1 second here. What Legs was speaking of, you can see the loops on the tiara Spencer. I mean, the Spencer tiara, and you could also see how it also is being played out with the veil. So when Legs says that the dress was really designed for the Spencer tiara, I think that is the best evidence is right there that you're looking at, because they could have just left a simple, straight border or rounded border along the veil, but they deliberately designed it so that it would complement the Spencer tiara. And that is, if you compare it to the one that Meghan ended up wearing there, that I guess it was Queen Alexandra's, that is
Queen
more like
Mary's.
this Queen Mary's, thank you, more Art Deco. And it actually has a brooch in the middle that is removable. So it's a good look for Meghan because she likes things very streamlined and more simplistic. But I agree with Legs that the dress was actually meant for the Spencer tiara.
And even look at the coloring of the Spencer tiara with that veil,
Mm-hmm.
because the lighting even works that way.
Right.
And we see
I
how
see what
Meghan
you're
is
saying.
with that happen.
Yeah.
Meghan's
And,
intentional.
well, underneath, you can see the velvet. They usually put a band inside of the tiara to match the hair color of whoever wore it last. And in this instance, I would imagine it was one of those several women that Charles Spencer married.
Right.
But I think it is a gold. I think it is a yellow gold.
Yeah.
Um,
Tiaras of a certain age, from the Victorian period, they were made of yellow gold, and then they put silver over them so that the diamonds would shine better in the candlelight.
Oh, yeah, you know what? And that makes sense too, because if you look at the one on the right, it's like white gold or platinum and white diamonds. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Hmm. Now,
So
two of Charles Spencer's daughters married, and they didn't wear the tiara. In fact, he wasn't even present at their weddings.
What?
Hmm.
How many kids does he have?
I think he had 3 or 4 with his first wife. Then his second wife had maybe 2.
Good Lord. Okay.
I think I had a minute. What is he, Nick Cannon?
Well, those aristocrats, they need spares on top of spares, and then they kick them out broken alone in the world.
And that's really too bad because I like Charles Spencer, but I think he's a bit of an asshole.
He is a
Um,
big one.
yeah, but I like him because it was times when I did not like him, like when I thought that he had chased Diana away from Althorpe. And
But
I'm
that's the
still not
tabloid
sure
story they
he
want us to
didn't,
know.
but I'm starting to shift my belief about that. But that is what really put me out with him, is that whole thing about Diana needing someplace, and that he just did not want that circus there, which is understandable. But he
That was
wasn't even living there, was he? Doesn't he spend most of his time away? Didn't he work for like NBC or something like that for a period?
The Spencer family had huge holdings in South Africa.
yeah, I was gonna say
They
he was
did
in
not
South Africa actually when she died.
Yeah.
they did not what was it? What's when you they did not divest from their South African holdings.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
that was another bone of contention between the Spencers and Charles, because Duchy of Cornwall holdings in South Africa, he did divest them.
Okay.
He did divest them. So
So that's
there's
why the heir to the Spencer dynasty, is that why he's always down in South Africa?
uh-huh.
Okay.
Charles's oldest son,
Yes.
their mother still lives in South Africa. And that's
Oh,
really
okay.
their home base. They come up to England every once in a while, but that's really their home base.
Okay. Okay, now that makes sense.
And yes, because all the holdings are down there, I would be down there keeping an eye on my daddy too, considering who
Mhm.
he is.
Mhm.
You have to be careful with them. But yeah, Elizabeth wasn't so sick that she couldn't put a stop to it in
But
the
no,
beginning.
it was various
She
things that bothered me. Like for instance, she what was that? George? Okay, he's automatically Prince. But she went out her way for Charlotte, and she went out her way for George. What's the last one? Louis.
Louis.
But she did nothing for Archie,
Mm-hmm.
and that bothered me.
Yeah.
Yeah, now
Yeah.
that right there would have been very simple to do. I have to
Yeah.
agree. But I also believe that Charles was a regent in all but name. I think he, for the past 10 years, took a responsibility for a lot of things. And there was also a lot of bartering. Don't forget that, because on a session day, when the Queen said in 2022 that people should call Camilla the Queen Consort, I believe that that may have been an exchange for make
Well,
sure you do right by Andrew. And, who knows how that's enforced, or unless Charles is just that stupid that he keeps falling into that trap. But there's also a lot of bargaining that goes on. And I believe that the Queen, no matter how she felt or whose grandchild is the favorite or whatever, I do believe that in exchange for Andrew, she would probably sacrifice Harry, or Harry's
What?
happiness, should I say.
Oh yeah, she'll sacrifice anyone. But in 2005, when they said that lie, Robert Jobson, Jobo the Hut, called her out and said that that's not true. That Camilla would be princess consort or something like that,
Right.
because Parliament would have to change the law. That with Camilla becoming queen falls under the purview of Parliament, because the wife takes the husband's title automatically in Britain.
Well, I mean, she was the Princess of Wales, but they never used it. I mean, they
She never
claim
used it. She was
right,
it. She never used it, but she used one of his other titles. She used Duchess of Cornwall.
right.
And Duchess makes you a peer of the realm. A duke is a peer of the realm. So a duke is higher than a prince, who's just a child of the monarch, who may or may not go to the throne. Right? I never
Mhm.
understood that one killed me for a long time. But Parliament would have had to go in and change the law to say that Camilla would not be queen. So when Elizabeth said it and when Charles said it back in 2005, when the engagement was announced, they were lying.
Oh, okay. So it was
And
all incremental, inching their way
right,
to see what would float.
when you walked away, I was
Public
about to
opinion.
say the thing about Elizabeth that you have to remember is that she was someone who always hid her hand.
Mhm.
Someone always did the dirty work for her. India Hicks's mother said on one of India's lives one day, she told a story, but it was something things that I'd read about her before, but not this particular story. India Hicks's mom and Elizabeth grew up together. They had a little school in the palace that they went to until Pamela Hicks' parents, until Lord Mountbatten sent her to a proper school, and everything. And they were friends. And then she became Elizabeth's lady in waiting. And of course, Elizabeth was married to her first cousin. And they were children together. So she had always called Elizabeth Lilibet, as everyone who was close in the family always called her Lilibet. And Elizabeth waited, let Queen Mary embarrass Pamela Hicks in at a party in front of everyone and tell her, you shouldn't call her Lilibet. Don't you ever do that again.
Mm.
And Elizabeth stood next to Queen Mary and just had like a little smile on her face and never addressed the issue again. She just didn't want Pamela to call her Lilibet anymore. But she let Queen Mary do it for her.
Mm.
Right.
And then look at how she handled Margaret. She let the courtiers and her mother browbeat Margaret until she gave up Townsend. And what was Margaret going to do? Margaret grew up, she learned basic English and basic math, no real schooling. She was always schooled in the palace because her mother didn't believe in much education, because the Queen Mother didn't have much education. She had no formal education, just what a governess would give her in the house, right?
Dogs, ponies, the weather, and French.
That's right. And some piano. So she let that. When it was time to do in Prince William of Gloucester, who did she pick to do that? She sent Margaret to do it. Could
Yep.
Margaret refuse? No, because her whole life depends on Elizabeth, right?
Mhm.
Her whole keep, everything. What's she going to do? She's not like Meghan, who lived in the world. She's not like Harry, who actually lived in the world for 10 years as a soldier. So he may not know all the ins and outs of having a checking account and writing a check and this and that, but he could pick it up easy enough because he had a wife that knew everything.
Mhm.
She sent Margaret to Japan to doing the dirty work with
Wait.
William of Gloucester.
Yep. Then he ended up dying in that plane crash.
Hmm. And then, of course, and then his brother had to leave his whole career as an architect. He was an architect. He went to school. He learned the Gloucester, Elizabeth's Gloucester uncle raised his children to get away from the monarchy.
Oh, that was smart.
And he talked about his parents. So Harry talking about his dad and them, that's nothing new. Charles talked about his parents. The Duke of Gloucester, the present Duke of Gloucester's father, talked about his mother and father. He said they were cold and unfeeling.
Mhm.
I mean, um, there's a book that's still in print. The guy who wrote the biography of Queen Mary, kept a personal diary, and he wrote all his impressions of the people he interviewed.
Hmm.
And he said don't publish it until 50 years after he died. Unfortunately, Elizabeth outlived him by about 2 years. So I think some of the things were toned down that he had to say in there to not hurt her feelings. But he didn't care for her either. If you read between the lines, he didn't think much of Elizabeth either. That man was something. Uh,
And who was
but
this?
what is his name? Oh my God. Let me see. Queen Mary's biographer. I think the book is named In Search of Queen Mary.
Okay.
Let me see. Let me do it that way.
Yeah, I just get the impression that a lot of people just did not really think Queen Elizabeth was so bright.
She was. I mean, she might have. I'm not going to say she was unintelligent. I'm going to
Right.
say she didn't have the formal education that we had. She didn't have that kind of education. Like
Right.
you said, horses, dogs, and French.
Mhm.
Let me go to Amazon. And I think she was threatened by women who had that education. I'm not, you know,
It's just several things that she did, like when she didn't automatically make Archie a prince. It sounds to me like she was willing to go along with the lie that, oh, Meghan and Harry decided not to. That was not the case when Meghan and Harry didn't decide to do that. And then even the optics around it, because I remember them putting out the article, be like, oh, we think Harry and Meghan won't have their children be prince and princesses. And I'm like, to know that they were actually like, well, why does that matter? Whereas versus other people told them that we weren't going to do that for your children. And then the gaslight Meghan during her Oprah interview when she actually literally is quoted exactly. And they followed up and like, oh, well, she's just confused because she thinks they need to be princes now. But when Charles becomes a king, and that's not what she said. She literally said that when Charles becomes king, that's when they become that. But the point was that technically Charlotte and Louis should not have been prince and princess either. So then Elizabeth was waiting to hand this off to Charles. Says no. That means that like, okay, she didn't really care if that actually happened to Harry. Then two, the other thing she did, if she really wanted them to have security, why didn't they have security? Why was security able to be stripped away from them when she wanted them to have it? Because if she really wanted to do something, she should have did something. Then three, the last thing is that they kept in contact with her as well as Philip. My whole point is that like after 6 weeks of being at Tyler Perry's house, someone discovered that they were there. I don't think Harry and Meghan was contacting William and Charles to be like, hey, guess what? We're here at Tyler Perry's. Clearly, through their discussions with her, people got word where they were located. And then people also got word where they're located via Montecito. So clearly someone in her camp was elite. But she didn't put a kibbutz on that. So it's like she's letting these things foster, and then she's like, oh, okay, well, And I'm like, no, this is our safety. This is our security. Do you want them to harass us? And then yet you think that they're going to come back after a year of being harassed and being demeaned? It made no sense.
But you know what? 6 weeks to not know the location, 6 weeks, and you don't know the location of what, the fourth or fifth in line to the throne. That is a very long time, and that should not have happened. We know why it happened, and that was because they stripped the security, and of course they could not trust that, having the palace recognize, or should I say realize where their location is. Exactly what they thought might happen did happen. It was leaked. But that just should not have happened, and that is Charles' fault that happened. Charles had I believe Charles always had the final word over the security. And when Harry would not drop that thing about Christian Jones, they told him he was going to pay, and they meant that. And all of a sudden, when it suited them, they just took the money, they took the security, and and
My
and to
point is
me,
that Charles was
mhm,
not the monarch at that moment. He
yeah,
should
but
not
Exactly.
have been able to make that decision.
Exactly.
but
He couldn't make that decision. She made that decision. She
but
did that.
Charles had taken all of that responsibility up until that point. And plus, the queen was ill at that point. And at that point, when you know that your heir is in that holding pattern, and whatever you say today can be undone
Done
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Yeah, why would she fight it? I
Well,
mean,
yeah. Well, then the question then
he
is that should Charles be even trying to fight William?
he
Because
took
that's what William's doing.
He took her
Exactly.
staff, but William
I mean,
hasn't taken his staff away yet.
but
Charles,
Charles didn't take her staff.
they
Christopher Vi-
retired.
Christopher Geit retired, and then the
Okay.
person who was next in line, Edward Young. Edward Young had been hired by Elizabeth in 2004. He worked his way up the line from
Okay.
assistant private secretary to deputy private secretary, and then when Geit left, he became the private secretary to the sovereign.
So
He
when
was
she
always in. So what? She was always in line.
so when she made that had that letter written about their security, what happened to it? Why did it not why did no one follow through with that? Whose
Exactly.
call was it?
That was a cover my ass thing. That's what she
Yes.
did there.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what she did there. That's what she did. She was just covering her ass. Like I said,
Because
she
my,
hid her hand.
yeah, because
Her
like the
entire
other
life,
yeah, the other
she
thing
hid her
that I
hand.
have the other thing I have with that is that so like they're not at the place in Canada. All of a sudden she calls them because I would like to know when the last time she called them. Did she call them after 6 weeks? Or and be like, hey, so how you doing? You still in Canada? Well, Grandma, no, well, we're here and we're doing great. We're done. Oh, so you're at that location now. Okay. And then everyone descends. I want to know when she last talked to them after that because they should have knew at that moment, once they talked to her and then people descended, that is a leak in her account. Because Harry did say before going to that Invictus in 2022, I want to make sure the right people are around my grandma. But at the same point, he is being like, oh, well, she's a grandma, she's trying to do everything possible, not thinking that your grandma can still be evil and have all these animosity against you, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only time she started protecting him when it was obvious when they weren't going to come to the Jubilee. So she was thinking about herself at that moment, and she was like, okay, you know what? They kind of won. They already have their own money. They don't have to come back here. So I'm going to give them protection that they wanted for the past 2 years so that they can come to the thing that I want. And that's when she allowed it. Because, my whole point is, how did it get leaked that they were at Tyler Perry's? And then how did it leak they were Montecito? Because if I was Harry and Meghan and I talked to her once and then my location leaked, I know who leaked the location. And so at that point, I would not talk to her a second time. But it sounds like Harry and Meghan were talking to Philip and her very commonly, which means either people that worked under her were already loyal to Charles, which is why William might be like, well, I don't understand why Charles is upset because he was already taking over control. So I'm taking control over everything with him. And that's the way it's going to work.
Now, see, that's where it creates a lot of confusion. It is a gray area, obviously, who is in control of what, because they say that everyone's looking toward William now, but Charles is still alive. I mean, and Charles is still the king.
So
Who
it's the queen.
decides when they stop listening to one and they shift to the other? Now, Queen Elizabeth never made a public announcement about her illness, but it was quite obvious that she was very, very ill. But
Yes.
at some point, I believe that Charles took over her household. And I can't remember where, but they were saying that the um, Clarence house had no respect or regard for anything that was dictated out of Buckingham Palace because they did not feel they had to know, or should I say, had to recognize it, because they felt that Charles was the last word and not Queen Elizabeth. So, exactly at what point did she lose the grip of power? And then it was whatever Charles says, whatever Charles says. When
Well,
did that
so
happen?
She lost the grip of power that last time she met Liz Truss. Then she went in her bed and lay
oh,
down and didn't do anything else. Because the one thing the monarch has to do, the two things, they have to sign those red, be able to read and sign those red boxes. Have to. And they have to be able to give audience with the prime minister. And if they can't do that, a regent is named.
Well, Victoria didn't do it for years, and they covered for
Victoria
her.
Victoria did not go out of her house for years, but the prime ministers went to her and she signed those red boxes. But
Oh,
she just didn't leave the house. She didn't leave the house. She didn't go to anything. See, going to Monday, Thursday, and going to this and go, none of that. They don't have to do that. That's what William is relying on. They don't have to do any of that. They have to be able to meet and advise the prime minister, and they have to sign those boxes every day except Christmas. Christmas, huh?
now
Christmas and
do you
Easter.
do you think that Charles has been exhausting himself to do things when he need to sit down somewhere because he does not want the appearance of having lost control? Do you think
I
that they may be actually like fighting this out as we speak?
I think he has to do it because William's not going to do anything. Someone
right.
has to be out there. I mean, the the monarchy lost a lot of their power when Victoria would not leave her house.
Right,
The one that was on the Isle of Wight.
right.
Uh I can't remember what it's named. Um but she just shut herself away out there, and sometimes she'd go to Balmoral or whatever, but because she would not come out and mix with the public and let the public see her and do things that the monarchist should do, not supposed to, but should do, she lost the respect of the people. And so Parliament was able to take a lot of power away.
And she had was that Disraeli that was her prime minister? The one
Disraeli
that
was one of her prime ministers, yeah.
okay. And he's the one that kind of fattened up the coffers to make her extremely rich.
hmm Along with
Okay.
Albert. Albert was a very smart man.
Yeah.
If Albert came back to tomorrow and saw this bunch, he would just kill himself all over again.
Hmm.
But and you can just see how this family has just gone down. If you look through history, how they took care of each other and everything, and they welcomed their relatives and whatnot. And you get to George V, who just the original the original person to slim down the monarchy,
Was George the
right?
Fifth.
George V.
Okay. So do you think that perhaps um Harry's disposition, and I say this guarded because we don't know who's listening, but do you think
hmm
that Harry's disposition may be part of a long-term strategy of some sort where he is seemingly naive and tolerant of certain things, or is he just a loyal and dutiful son that wants the best for his father.
I'll speak from personal experience and say this. Time and distance gives you clarity. And he
Mm-hmm.
hasn't really had the time and the distance. And I feel really bad for him for the day that the blinders fall off and he sees who his grandmother really was.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
And
when
that's
he
got to be
sees the full,
difficult because
and it's going to be difficult. I'm going
because
to tell you.
she took his mother's place in some regards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
And
because
maybe the queen was pacifying him long enough for him to stay, knowing that he might want to leave, but she was keeping him in that holding pattern because she realized that William could never really do his work effectively without Harry.
perhaps, but Harry marrying Meghan was a bridge too far for her.
Yeah.
That
yep,
was too much for her. And remember, this was a woman that was all about breeding. Bred horses, bred dogs, bred horses for sale, bred dogs for sale, bred her children. Because look at it, she picked their spouses. She picked their spouses, and it went horribly wrong each time. You know, look at the mess she made of 3 of their lives. I think it. I think.
1992 is a
Uh-huh.
year that I shan't look back upon with undiluted pleasure. It was an anus horribilis.
I truly believe if she had left Charles and Camilla alone, they would have gone their separate ways because Camilla wasn't interested in the things that Charles was interested in, like organic and saving the planet and whatnot. She was hunting and smoking and that kind of stuff, and
Mhm.
healthy living. And Charles was healthy living and all of that. So they would have gone their own way. But because she interfered, she made a mess of so many lives. She messed up Diana's life. She messed up Charles. She messed up Camilla. Parker Bowles, the woman that I think Parker Bowles would have really married, his second wife, because as soon as that ink was dry, well, before it was barely dry, he went and he married that woman. And I think that that was the woman he was always wanted. And and I don't think she thought much of women in general, not even her own female relatives. Look at who she let them marry. She didn't find good marriages for them. She just, you know.
Well, that's probably the only thing she has in common with Kate is because Kate can't tolerate other women.
hmm And I think, someone asked if she had a problem with Margaret Thatcher. She did. She did.
Oh yeah, I think that was pretty obvious.
hmm She did. But really, when you look at the whole Angela Kelly thing, Angela Kelly could have never done what she did without the Queen's permission.
exactly.
She was
Yeah.
just a servant. She's not a courtier. She's not nothing. She was a basic servant.
And that she thought she had the upper hand on Harry and Meghan to go about doing what she was doing and looking at them like they were small. That says enough.
But
That
I
said it
think
right
that
there.
that was something that was um, instilled in everyone is that you don't need to pay any respect to Harry. You don't have to worry about Harry. Harry doesn't want to be here anyway. And so I don't think there was very much deference for Harry. And I don't think he cared enough about his position. The only thing he was interested in was serving his grandmother.
I mean,
And yeah,
I think you don't have to worry too much about Harry, and Harry doesn't stand on ceremony.
right.
But it doesn't mean that you openly disrespect Harry. That's not the same thing.
Well,
Harry
you
not standing
certainly
on
are not
ceremony,
going to get in his face,
you know.
but in terms of making sure that he's included, I think the only time that things were posh for him was when he had an official function or when he had to travel. Then all of a sudden, he is really a Prince Harry. But when that wasn't the case, I think he avoided them and they avoided him.
Yeah, I think that that family, they're so weird. And also, let's jump back to one of the Queen's previous private secretaries, Baron Baron Fellows, Diana's brother-in-law, who was
Now, are
surprised.
they related to Julian Fellows?
I don't, I possible because they're all aristocrats.
Right.
It's possible, and the growth of the book is not free on the internet anymore. You have to buy a subscription now.
Okay.
You can't go look them up anymore unless you have a
But it
mind.
may be at the library.
Well, yeah, if you go to the library or something like that. But
Hmm.
Ro- Robert Fellows, was that his name? Robert Fellows. She gave him a baron, made him a baron when he retired. That was Diana's brother-in-law and Fergie's cousin. And look at what he craft, helped the Queen craft for their divorces. Because once they're done with you, they're done with you. Took away their HRHs. Fergie got just that small amount of money, but she would have wasted it anyway. Granted, and and just let that onslaught go against Diana. And that was her brother-in-law. He married to his sister. I mean, how did he go home and look at his wife?
Yeah, that the whole thing with Diana,
I mean,
you
and how
know,
did he look at his relatives? Like yeah, like at family gatherings and whatnot. Yeah, I did Fergie, and but it's my job.
yeah, as they go on about trafficking and abuse and such. Um, how old was Diana when she was like first hand picked to be the future Princess of Wales?
Like
16 or something
19,
like that. Well,
19,
she got
17.
married at 19, but they were
Yeah, but
starting
at 16, she was still living on Sandringham Estate
right. But
because that's where they lived.
I believe that's when they flagged her and was
Probably.
keeping an eye on her, and it was her grandmother, it was
And the
Charles' grandmother, all of
grandmother.
them were in cahoots,
Hmm.
and so she was the last one to find out that she is supposed to be, the future, and they probably had someone in the house they were living in keeping an eye. What, she had, like, 3, 4 roommates or whatever? They
Right.
probably had her, monitored, and then, of
Oh,
course.
when she went to London, when she hit 18 and she went to London, her mom
Mhm.
bought an apartment. Her mom tried to pull out of that, out of that world, but she didn't listen. She was young and headstrong,
Mhm. And maybe
but
that's why it was such a race to hurry up and get her married because they didn't want, her to experience life.
right,
Yeah.
but it is what it is,
'Cause even in The Crown, they portrayed her as being, uh, I believe it was 15 or 16, and she's, like, peeking and looking around at the Prince of Wales while he's there to date her sister. And then as soon as she was getting closer to being of age, I guess her sister must have fallen short or something, and they were.
her sister started talking about the relationship because
Oh.
the sister clearly didn't. She was like, no, I'm not in. I don't want no part of this. I don't want any part of this. Diana didn't move. They didn't move. Her grandfather didn't die until she was about 16 or 17, and that's when they moved to Althorpe from Sandringham. They
And
lived
that's
in.
when she became Lady Diana.
That's when she became the Lady Diana, right?
Right.
Um, um, because they lived in Park House on the Sandringham estate, which is falling apart right now because it's just sitting there.
Now, I was
Um,
gonna ask you about that because I don't know what I remember about it, but I do remember that she lived on the Sandringham estate, and I didn't know under what circumstances, but I
Her
know that
father
she
was
did.
an equerry. He was an
Okay,
equerry.
all right.
And so he lived there, and
Grace and favor housing,
Grace
right?
and Fable, and one of the babies that her mother miscarried, one of the boys that her mother miscarried or was stillborn, is buried in the Sandringham, that little church that they go to in Christmas, at
Okay,
Christmas. He's buried in that graveyard.
that's the All Saints Church, I think, something
I
like
don't know
that.
what that one's named. I don't really keep up with the names of those little churches that they have, because they have so many of them on
Yeah,
this
I just
estate.
like to test my memory, so I'm just like, is
Okay.
it? Yeah.
So I know that that the baby Spencer, and he was a John also. And then Queen Alexandra's baby that only lived for one day, also named John, is buried there. And Queen Mary and King George V's son, the one that they shut away, that died on Sandringham, he's
The
buried there also.
epileptic, I think he was, right?
Epileptic or something like that. Yeah. Or artistic, probably. He's buried there too. They're all in that little graveyard. But that family, and they just get worse. They just get more cannibalistic, tearing each other apart.
I don't know why this obsession of Charles with this slim down monarchy. I just don't get why that was so important because it does not really work. Because the way the slimming it down like that, I mean, let's say that, God forbid, any of the senior royals were in some horrific accident or illness or something like that. So, for a period of time, possibly permanently, you're down one, and there's no logical person to replace that one person. And I'm sure that they were banking on Harry, and they
Well,
didn't care who he married, but they were banking on Harry to do a lot of the work.
right.
They wanted Harry to be Anne 2.0, like Anne, but with a personality.
The difference with Charles's slimming down and his great grandfather George V slimming down is that George V stripped people of their titles, of their princely status, all of that. But Charles was just taking you off the balcony. He wasn't taking your status away. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So you were still in the line. You're still in the line of succession and everything, and you can just be moved up. But he wasn't being. It was just. I think he saw where things were going and where the public was going to be angry. We have all these people we're paying for, and why are we paying for them? And I think he had the sense that that was coming, but he couldn't execute it because, well, he had his mother that was stuck in the Edwardian age, and his son that is just god awful. And
Well, and that's why I'm saying, in theory, it makes a lot of sense, but William is an imbecile and is not temperamentally suitable for the role. And who knows how it's going to end for him. But there's really no number two after Charles is gone until his son becomes of age when he can share the burden. Um, yeah, it just I
well,
realized that it
that's
was
another reason. That's
hmm
another reason. When you say it, that's another reason to get rid of Andrew and strip him of his princely status, because he would be the next person in line, the next adult in line to be the regent.
right.
And who would want to have to go through fighting with him if something god awful happens and you need a regent for George?
Well, and that is the idea that Harry would refuse to return, but technically Harry is next in line for regent.
Right. But
So we would
is
have
Harry gonna but would Harry destroy his family? Because that's what he
no,
would be
no.
doing.
Harry would not likely return, although he would be in a very powerful position as regent, but he would not likely return. And so also you really can't, I mean, there's no way in the world that I think the parliament would dare allow Andrew to be regent. They're just not going to
Exactly.
do that.
I mean, I think that they're cleaning house and they're trying to get things in order. They're trying to get things in order because things might just be more dire than we know.
Yeah. And
Because
whatever William's story is, and there is a story there, and may not be something so obvious as I'm always saying, but there is something there, and he scares the hell out of a lot of people.
he does. He
And
does.
I don't
That's
know
what
if
I
it's
was
because of his courtiers or is it because of just, William himself, but there is something about him that alarms people that are close to the crown, close to the throne.
yeah, that's what I was writing when you invited me up. William
Okay.
and Prince Michael of Kent are the only two royals that live in the actual Kensington Palace. The Duke of
Okay.
Gloucester and his wife moved out. William lives in 1A and they lived in apartment 1 since the 1970s. And they moved out and they went to the far end of that compound to where all the old servants' quarters was, back on that end where Harry and Meghan lived.
Uh-huh.
That's where everyone lives. That's where the Duke of Kent lives. That's where Eugenie has her place. That's where the Gloucesters live now. And it's not because of money, because the Gloucesters have money. You know, um, they have their own money because his mother was the daughter of a duke, a very wealthy duke, and one of those dukes that when they die, you don't see art and jewelry going up for auction to pay taxes,
Okay.
right? So they have money, and they seem to have managed their money better than the Duke of Kent did. But everyone moved out of that building, and it's just William and Prince Michael of Kent. Well, probably more Princess Michael of Kent because I'm sure she'll be damned if she move out of there into any servant's quarter. They're not getting her out of there.
Well, and between Princess Michael of Kent and Prince Michael of Kent, they are both in really bad shape.
Right.
So I who knows if they'll still be able to.
They can't. Well, yeah.
They can
They.
barely walk these days.
That's right. They're wheelchair bound most of the time,
Yeah,
but they're still living in that palace. That's what I'm saying. They're
yeah.
still in that palace. Everyone else moved out of the palace proper into those old buildings where the servants used to live in.
It's just going to be very difficult to like the whole thing with the slim down monarchy and all of the grace and favor. It's just going to get to be more and more difficult to justify all of this infrastructure, all of this
Right.
property, all of this land. Yes, it would look really bad having a bunch of these rogue princes and princesses all over the place. And the public is, the ones paying for it. But then at the same time, what do you need all of these buildings for? And these buildings are not always accessible to the public, certain areas and such where you just have property that is empty, property that is on the verge of collapse in some of the best, areas of the city or the
Hmm.
countryside.
Yeah.
So what is the point of it? And you look at these big sweeping vistas of Royal Lodge, that looks like I think it was what's his name, Tom Sykes and that other guy. They were saying that when you look at it, you expect to hear the theme song for Dallas, you know.
Yeah. I think it's like 150 acres or something.
Yeah, it's vast. And all of that for a husband and wife that a ex-husband, ex-wife that according to reports they don't even live in the same wing of the house, there is just no point of. That's why Andrew really just has to move because people are looking at it. It's noticed, and that cannot. That's unsustainable for him.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be the same for Edward if people started making a stink about Edward's living accommodations.
That
You,
place is bigger.
yeah, it's huge,
And
and
he
it,
rents out pieces of it to people.
oh, does he?
Yeah,
Okay,
they're like outbuildings and things that he rents out.
okay, okay.
So
Oh, I
he's
didn't know
making
he had so many outbuildings, but okay,
hmm he makes money off that place.
okay. But again, what is the justification? Why does he have that? He doesn't do any work that people even notice. He just goes and visit places. This whole idea that oh well, the deal is they do their charity and we pay them and so on and so forth. It ain't that much charity in the world.
Mm-mm.
It ain't that much charity in the world. How is it other countries have just as much charity, but they do not have parasites, um, showing up and cutting ribbons?
Mm-hmm. And there you go. But those I feel so bad for what Megan went through. I was when Archie was born and I saw that picture. We all know which picture I'm talking about. I was so angry and I was just like I kept saying, "Girl, you got to get out of there. Leave now. If he don't want to leave, leave his ass behind, but pick your baby up and come home."
And
You
that is
know.
the whole point of the baby skin color thing. They love to downplay it by saying, "Oh, it's a natural curiosity." But when you are in a space that is so alien and so sterile and so cold as any of these royal households, and people that every day expose themselves as being an ideal white supremacist, speaking over your child, speaking about your child, dwelling over your child, they couldn't even protect William from a golf club. I could only imagine the story that they would say, well, we just looked away for a minute. And that right there, you don't even give them a minute to look away. You just take your child and get out of there. And I'm
Well,
Mhm.
sure Harry realized instantly what was necessary. We got to go. They done
well,
already done my mama in. We're out of here.
so the other issue that I think that we don't bring up, which um it gets lost, is that how much Megan gave up to join his world, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
she gave up her financial independence, and as we say in Spirit, she points out like, well, so you asked me to get my career and stuff like that. And yet, what did they want her to do? They didn't give her one kind of allotment. They gave Harry an allotment, whatever he normally got. But it like he doesn't say it outright, but basically in Spirit he makes it sound like she paid for the extra. Like so, besides the renovations for actual Frogmore that needed to happen, anything that was superfluous, she paid for.
While
And
at the same time convincing people that Charles was paying for her wardrobe.
exactly, because
Mhm.
every end of the year we saw, oh, why is she spending so much money on it? And she couldn't come out and say like, well, I'm paying for myself. I paid for my own wedding dress. I paid for all my own clothes while I'm here because what they wanted her to do, they wanted her to not have money. But Megan is actually smart enough that she probably was investing besides having money. And then besides the money she would continually get from suits, she still had money. So they wanted her to deplete her assets, obviously, right? And then for them to make you give up your primary source of income, then take your passport. I'm doubting that she let them get her social security, but they were trying to be like, oh, you don't have to worry about this. She's like, yeah, no, actually, this is fine. And I can already imagine they were trying to, oh, you have any assets? Just let us know what those are. We'll handle them for you, so they can figure out how much money she had. and how much she had to wear so they can like take over it. Because the whole point is to isolate you physically, mentally, and control everything about you.
And she
And
couldn't even store text messages or anything.
right,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they
and
they
so
really took control of her phone and was likely monitoring her phone.
imagine
Yeah.
someone who had all those friends and was like, interact with everyone, and then all of a sudden friends are like, "Wait, we haven't heard from her in like 3 months. Have you?" And that's what happened with Diana. So like, what I don't understand, or I think I do understand. It's just that it's so weird to see some people be so gullible when you hear people on the actual morning talk shows being like, "Well, we rose her profile." You didn't raise her profile. Like you did it in a way to actually demonize her, and your whole goal was to break her. The whole goal was to get her to leave and go back, which is why you were so clever to make her switch her name on the birth certificate to Duchess of Sussex instead of her real name, because you want to make sure that we want to make sure that if you leave, you have no recourse to take the children with you. We want to make sure we can be like, nope, you leave, the kids stay with us. So that would always make you. It's like everything they did there was to keep her there, and they were talking about using it for her benefit. Because when you think about it, remember how many times they said she ghosts people, but how many people did she tell? Oh, don't talk to them. Oh, don't talk to them. That was the thing before when she got in there. They wanted her to not talk to people, and then all of a sudden, oh look, she ghosted these people. Like, wait, what? No, she was talking to them, but you told her not to. So now you're using it against her. And so it's like everything that they try, and good job for Meghan just looking out for herself. Think about like that Jason F was able to give those text messages that she didn't even have anymore to the opposition against her to win the case, and then luckily for her lawyer to be like, "Can we see all of this?" Oh, look, she like he was like, "Oh, let me share this with someone." She's like, "Oh, well, it's kind of private," and I that she had the wherewithal to like say that highlights enough that like they were working against her. Everything that they used to supposedly protect her, they used against her to try to go against her in court, to try to show if she was a bully, to try to show if, say, for instance, that she was manipulative. Everything that they used against her, they were trying to spin as a, oh, look, we're trying to help you. But what I do love, particularly with Archetypes, all that stuff that they tried to use against her, she flipped it back on them. To be like,
I
oh,
I think they just about shit on themselves when they tried to get her to go and deal with her father, and she didn't get on that plane. I'm pretty sure that confused the hell out of them because they thought that she was going to go and put her cape on and be like, "I'm coming, daddy," and it didn't happen. And I, I guess they even thought that, and they have been doing this ever since, trying to point out how cruel and depict her as being so what do you call it, um I guess hateful toward her father. um but none of them none of them will ever admit or acknowledge exactly what his Thomas Markle
right.
Sr.'s role has been.
Yep.
They use the superficial stuff like, oh well, he just took some pictures of this and that. No, it goes so much deeper than that. It goes so much deeper.
Yeah.
He has aided and abetted a reporter from the Daily Mail. He has opened up his home and allowed them to go through everything he has looking for something incriminating against his daughter, and he knows it. And he's been willing to repeatedly see, they never discuss the money that he takes now in exchange for,
Mm-hmm.
Well,
because he's
well,
not
Yeah.
that much of a simpleton. He's going to get his money.
well.
Yeah, that
Let's
was that was
well. Let's
definitely a setup with that Mexico bit.
Yeah,
yep.
I'm
that
glad
was
she
a
didn't fall
setup.
for that.
And let's
Yep.
remember also in terms of when she was against her other lawsuit against them, because people forget that she had two lawsuits against them. She was doing one lawsuit when she was just joining that family. That was hopefully to deter her from interacting with Harry, right? It was the one about her being on Pornhub,
Right.
and so
Mm-hmm.
she sued and won. No one in that family reimbursed her for that money. She spent over $10,000 for that. No one reimbursed, and then their apology came on that page 27, and so it threw me off because I was like, when I first heard that she was suing them for the breach of copyright, I was like, why is it so specific that it has to be this font and this page? I had no clue that she had to sue them before for the lies, right? And so they want to make sure people don't recognize that, like, oh, well, we lied on her previously. But then, if you remember when her father, like, I don't even want to call him that, but when he was going on TV with Pierce Morgan when she moved over to the U.S., he's like, "Oh, I'm doing this because she won't talk to me. I'm doing this because I find this is the only way." While he was doing that, she was currently still suing, and they were so happy to point out, "Oh, it's gonna be Markle versus Markle, and he's gonna come and say how evil she is." And I'm like, "Wow, what kind of a father would do that to his child?" So when I hear things now, when people are like, "Well, what does she know? She doesn't talk to most of her family." What family? Doria was her family, as well as the people on Doria's side was her family. Besides Thomas, she had no interaction with her half siblings. She grew up by herself. So they obviously obfuscate that to pretend like, oh, she's ghosting everyone, while ignoring that she had really no interaction with Samantha or Thomas Jr. growing up. And they
All
want
of that is to peck away at her credibility
to
and to
exactly.
show that she
Right.
is that to prove she's this hollow, cruel person that will drop you in a heartbeat. All of that, and just like when they were made, it was the palace that was making suggestions. Oh, if your friends come, this is this and also given how vicious the press had been, they didn't even want to put certain family and friends through because if you identify a person as related, then they are going to harass that person. So I don't think we'll ever know exactly how many family members were there. I believe that there was more than what we know of, but they're not going to say because they don't want to identify those people.
They want to make it seem like she was clamoring for fame and to get rid of family along the way, while ignoring that, see, they ignore obvious dynamics in terms of she had her friend groups, which you basically consider as family, because not everyone has really big families.
Right.
Like, it's obvious that, like, well, like, 'cause remember what Harry said, like, during the interview, like, that apparently the Marcos took offense to. Oh, she's gonna have the big family that she never had. She had no siblings because those other two were half siblings, and she didn't interact with those. All of her family were her friends and girlfriends, which she still are friends with today. But she thought she was going to a family where she would interact with people. But then, oh wait, you all hate each other and you use something against each other. That's interesting.
Yeah, I
So
believe. Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah, no, I'm done.
I believe that they played along as long as they could and allowed Harry to believe that this is going to work and we are going to make sure that nothing happens like your mom and this and that and so on and so forth, while at the same time they were scheming and plotting and doing everything they could to derail the wedding from taking place. And then after the fact, they were trying to attack her and humiliate her so that she would just get frustrated and leave. Every turn, they really underestimated their love for each other, number one. And also, they underestimated Meghan's ability to adapt to circumstance. Now, they very nearly broke her, but they did not get as far as they hoped because Harry was just like, okay, we're out of here. When he realized that it was no winning, well, they realized, should I say, that there was no winning. And that was when they were in South Africa. Oh, yeah, well, it was just a little smoke, but you have to carry on this engagement and so on and so forth. They let Harry believe that they were going to work with them and help them, but that jealousy just ate them up.
Do you remember what those royal experts, quote unquote, said during that trip? Like, they always try to pretend like, oh, everything was going well until basically she spoke up or he spoke up about the abuse that they said.
Right.
I remember one of them said they were like, well, no, everything's going well, and the South Africa was amazing, everything's going well. But then they started talking about, oh, how they were picked on. And I think that just derailed the trip. And that just made it like I think they should just kept going to do their work. And I'm like, whoa, wait, are you literally saying basically what we know now in terms of besides all the stress you put on a new mother, which you did not put on Kate. Kate, I remember that the second birth of Charlotte, that's what it was. I remember Kate was out and about and then she went away. But then with Charlotte, it was like, oh, well, Kate's having morning sickness, so we might not see her. I don't remember seeing Kate for another 6 months after that. Then all of a sudden she had a kid. Right? It was like, no, they made sure Kate got her release and she wasn't even around.
That morning sickness was a lie. That was a get out of jail free card.
Yep, but Meghan, nope, you were working to the very end because we want you to have a miscarriage. And then even when your kid is nearly killed, we want to force you to do other stuff. And like they don't even take that in account. They're like, oh well, she brings up all this. Like, what is up with you all? With people saying that I am not okay at the moment. Like, what is up with, aren't you all champions of mental health? No, you're not. And then all of a sudden you call them hypocrites when they're like, oh, they don't care about mental health, they're bullies. We literally saw you, and currently right now you are actually bullying her. And we're supposed to pretend that that's not happening. And so you're climate hypocrites who actively is saying that I'm authoritarian by bullying my own cousin and my own uncle is supposed to be the non-bully? I am very confused by that.
Well, you know, I've been watching Tom Sykes, and Tom Sykes,
He's a piece of
he acts like he has a personality disorder, like he has multiple personality disorder.
So they put him back in line. They put him back
On the one hand, he wants to try, and he's not good at it, but he wants to do a comedy routine about what she says and what she does. But inevitably, he reaches a point where he will let out a little truth bomb. And I was not shocked when it happened because he does it every so often. And it's just like with Robert Jobson. I know you know better. You know better. You're playing to your audience. I get that. But when you thoroughly spell out, this is why Meghan did not want to share Archie with the press, especially after Archie was, after the photo and all that kind of stuff. He spells it out very clearly. That is reason enough for any woman to want to keep their child away from the press. How could you abuse someone's child and then you expect them to let you have unfettered, unrestricted access to that child so you can sell your papers? He said that, but this was only after he did this little carny hustler thing where he's he used the word salad phrase because that's something they all have to do. And then he said that, well, who would invite people over and give them mugs and he's trying to laugh, even though you can tell it's not funny to him. And so he goes back and forth between a very thorough explanation for why things are the way they are. And then he pretends like he's confused. Like, for instance, he'll say the climate hypocrite thing. I cannot find any place where Meghan ever spoke out about climate ever. There's nothing, because if it was, they would have shared it with us. I can't find it. And even Harry doesn't even say anything about sustainability. All Harry has done with his travel list was establish a way for individuals to be responsible for their carbon emissions. That's it. I don't know of any place in life where Harry has ever said, don't do this, you must do that. And yet, you'll have someone like a Tom Sykes says, well, you can't say to people that you want this and you want that, and then you turn around and you fly in a private jet. They didn't say it. They didn't even say it, but you keep telling people that they said something that does not exist. I cannot find it in print. I cannot find a video, nothing. And yet they keep putting them under this banner of the climate hypocrites so that they can avoid saying that about Charles and about William. Projection, I think that's what they call it. What y'all doing?
They just, they just pick anything to just throw against the wall and see what sticks. And
Yes.
it makes me crazy that people fall for it.
And especially when you know the person that's saying it knows better and you have heard them explain it thoroughly, only for them to get on a different panel and then they go right back into the song and dance and the talking points from the WhatsApp group. Someone just sent me, I can't see it, but someone just sent me let me see there. Sent me, something. Oh, that is, well, I don't want to say the name, but thank you for the is it a super thanks? Oh, I don't know where that is. Is it here? No, I think it must be in another like chat or something like that. But thank you so much for that if you're listening. Okay, it just kind of randomly popped up. Okay, well, in that case, is there anything else? I haven't really been looking at the comments. Let me see here. So I'm going to. Oh, okay. Well, thank you very much, Lydia Washington. Oh, yes, almost 3 a.m. I really do appreciate it. Let me see. Should we all call it a night?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay, 3.5
Yeah.
hours. That seems like a close.
Okay, this was fun. I'm glad you came back later after I had a nap.
Okay. Yeah, I'm functioning on very little sleep, so I'm not gonna be long myself because I was up late and then I had to set the alarm so I can make sure that I made my purchases and everything. So I'm good. I'm
Well,
good.
I'm glad you prepped for this because you were indicating that you might want to do something like this. I was like, oh shoot. So I was like, I better get a nap or something.
Yeah. Well, it was gonna be a members only, but then the baseball happened, so and I totally missed the baseball thing before I you know, uh, got off the last time. So the first part of today when I had anyway, I'm glad I came back because I was able to straighten out my StreamYard and I worked on that for a little while before I logged back in. So I'm glad I got that figured out and I'm gonna stop messing with little buttons that I don't understand. Yeah, I'm gonna stop messing with stuff I don't understand. That's how that happened. I did something and I didn't realize that everything I have saved here, I can do that for up to like I think 4 different. So if I had 4 different channels, essentially I could have 4 different things, I guess, for each channel or whatever. So didn't know that that was a thing. So what I did was I got out of this one and I was on the next one, and I had no photos, no music or anything saved there. So that is what was confusing me. But now I got it straightened out, and that was only because I came back on later. Otherwise, I wouldn't have thought about it until as I was going on again the next day. So it worked out for me.
Well, I will say the next time we come on, I'm sorry, but we always got to have a Dragon Camilla segment because every dog has its day, and sometimes they get a hay. But that filly needs to be put out the pasture. And
Yeah, well, you know, I got 101 slides of Camilla. You know, Celibici really roast people without roasting them because they are the ones that are their level of shade is they actually go and purchase images from Getty. You know, the ones that cause embarrassment, the ones with the poor lighting and the droopy this and the sagging that, they actually go through the Getty and pay for those. Otherwise, I wouldn't even know they exist if it was not for Celibici.
I'm all for like the cow as well as the egg. Like they get a dragon for me any particular time. And Mumbles is right up in there, the mean girl. Like I have no sympathy for that. So
Well, I tell you what I'm going to do. I had promised earlier that I might play part of Celibici from when they talked about Paris, which I thought was, you know, I like to hear their take on things. So I'm going to cue that up and I'm going to say goodnight to you all and thank you so much. And anyone who's hanging around, you can listen to it here or you can go to the community post where I do believe I shared their link. If not, I will make sure that I do that. So I'll put that on, and it's probably about 5 or minutes of them discussing Paris. And again, Celibici has not been on since July because of all of the stress of the news of the day. And we've lost a few voices because of that. And like I say, I totally understand because it is a very stressful time. But thank goodness we have this community and whatever other you know safe guardrails that we have in our lives. So thank you, Hazel Jones, and thank you, Legs. And I'll say goodnight to you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you for
thank you
inviting
very
me
much.
up. It was fun.
Yep. No, thank you.
Yes, we'll definitely
Great
have to
talking to
do
you.
this again.
Definitely.
Okay,
Yeah.
cheers, you guys.
Bye bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye now. I guess I should have got this all queued up while I was saying that, huh? And I'm just assuming that I'm going to find it, but I'm going to put the link for Celibici up there again anyway, so that you can listen to it in its entirety. But their podcast was only like 33 minutes, but always a pleasure with Celibici. So yeah, let me get that queued up, and there it is, and here we go.
I want it back. It's labeled coming soon on the As Ever site. So I really hope that she does bring back the raspberry jam. But I'm cool with the apricot.
It tasted like baby food to me.
The raspberry is elite. It is elite.
Yeah, there's nothing like that. Yeah, so she's been doing her thing. You know?
She was pretty quiet in September. Harry was the busy one. He like went to see his dad. He did like a 4-day tour of England basically, and William was freaking out.
Oh yeah.
And then he went to Ukraine, and like that made William basically have a nervous breakdown. So that was September. And Meghan was super quiet. And then she's been so visible in October.
So yeah, she went to the Balenciaga show a couple of weeks ago at Paris Fashion Week, and that was a surprise to everyone because we hadn't heard about that before. And she just looked rich. She looked like glowy and rich and serene. Everyone was buzzing about her, and she got a lot of publicity for that label.
seeing the reaction to her and like the British media freaking out about it, like I really wish that she's just been doing this for years. I've always wished that she would do more with fashion, like become a brand ambassador, like get an ad campaign, something like that.
She's like Angelina Jolie for St. John or something. Like she can wear very classic, rich lady, simple stuff. Not simple, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm not saying that like Meghan should do like Louis Vuitton. Absolutely not. Like leave that to the kids. Like do a grown-up brand ambassadorship, you know, like with Dior or Valentino or something like that. And like Angelina is very choosy with her sponsorships and like campaigns too. Like right now she's only doing like Tom Ford lipstick.
Oh, okay. So Meghan is friends with Pierpaolo Piccioli. I looked up how to pronounce that and I wrote it out. That's Balenciaga's new creative director. He used to be the creative director at Valentino. And he told The Cut that he's been friends with her for years and that they text and that she asked if she could attend the show. So good for her, you know, and she was obviously very worth it for them.
Yeah, and they twisted that to say, oh, she begged to come. She wasn't even invited. Like, it was very clearly like her letting him know that she was available and that she would love to come.
Yeah.
Of course they jumped at that.
For real.
I mean, like, that was the storyline of Paris Fashion Week. And I think she probably did get an appearance fee, and I hope she did.
She was so worth it. I mean, everyone covered that story.
Exactly.
You can have all the celebrities in the world, but if Meghan shows up, it's going to be front and center on all the celebrity magazines.
Yeah, it's huge international news.
So when Meghan went to Paris, she posted a cute little Instagram story of like her feet in the limo while she was driving around at night, because it was kind of glamorous, you know? Mm-hmm. And then the Daily Mail is just the most ridiculous parody of a publication. They said that the video was insensitive because she was driving near the tunnel in Paris where Princess Diana died, which was absolutely not true. Like, even if she was driving near there, she probably wouldn't have known. And it wasn't taken near there. The video is from over a kilometer away from that tunnel.
She was filming a completely different bridge, and it was only a little tiny clip. And like they've been screaming about it for weeks. And in a recent column, they called it the Diana Death Tunnel, which to me is more offensive than Meghan's Instagram.
Right? Oh my gosh. Can you imagine? That's so ridiculous.
And it wasn't like that was the sole Instagram story that she had from Paris. Like she was posting pretty much the entire trip. And like, that was the first clue that she was in Paris. She was like filming herself, like walking through de Gaulle.
Yeah. So whatever. Daily Mail is going to Daily Mail, you know, please. It's like a joke at this point.
Yeah.
And so she attended the Fortune Summit in Washington last week, and she was talking about her businesses. And she went to a women's networking dinner over the weekend held by Emma Grede. And these are just like nice business moves that she's making.
And they hate it.
They hate it.
The British people hate it, and they're crying about it, and they're trying to find any sort of angle to criticize her. Like they said she was dressing like Victoria Beckham. Oh, they were totally mad about the women's dinner because the food was vegan and there were all these women there, and why weren't men invited? Jesus.
Give me a break. And then last week, Harry and Meghan got honored for their charity work in New York City. They were at Project Healthy Minds World Mental Health Day Festival. And so they've done a couple of things together too, apart from that. And that's nice to see them together as a couple.
Yeah, it was the day before World Mental Health Day and the day that Harry and Meghan were being honored by Project Healthy Minds. Kate published a little essay that she co-authored about how phones are bad for kids. And so all of the British coverage was Harry and Meghan are talking about Kate's subject, the subject of Kate's essay. They're bandwagoning on Kate. No, they are not.
I mean, they've been involved with this cause for well over a year. They announced it, and they've been trying to work with parents whose children were harmed online. like, remember when they were on CBS about that?
Yeah, they founded the Parents Network
Parents
more than
Network.
a year ago.
Yeah. How is Kate trying to get in? It's so transparent and obvious. And then Will and Kate made a surprise visit to Northern Ireland last week. Like, yeah.
Yeah, but they've been MIA this week because their kids are out of school. So they're on vacation, which is why I find it weird. And we're going to talk about this next. The Prince Andrew situation. It's been huge this week that we're recording. And they keep saying, oh, Prince William feels this way. Prince William is doing this. Prince William is on fucking vacation, like always.
He's probably texting his little.
I don't even think it's him
sources.
texting. It's his staff,
Okay.
if that.
So it was last Friday, October 17th. The news came out in the afternoon that Prince Andrew was voluntarily no longer using his titles. He wrote, quote, "With His Majesty's agreement, we feel I must now go a step further. I will therefore no longer use my title or the honors which have been conferred upon me. As I have said previously, I vigorously deny the accusations against me." So he's like, I'm not guilty, but I'm just going to do this to placate you people. And he's still going to keep Royal Lodge. This is the thing. He has kind of stepped back from royal life, but Charles has been letting him show up at events and we're seeing him and he's being photographed there. So has Charles's kind of
support. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, you guys. So that was a sample of Celibacy. The link is at the top of the chat if you want to listen to it in its entirety. That was, let's see, that was a little shy of halfway through Celibacy. They do cover other things, but mostly it's about the royals and, all things Harry and Meghan. So they're not squatties. They are journalists. They do have their opinion. And this was their first podcast since July. So I'm every week. They usually air on Saturday. I'm always looking for their podcasts, and they've been away. I believe one of them said she's been deliberately watching movies and doing everything she could not to think about things. So I suggest that more people do the same. If you ever feel that your mental health is in jeopardy, you must do what you have to do to keep yourself mentally fit. That is more important than being here or any other platform, because if you're not taking care of yourself, you won't be available for anyone. So that is very, very important. Okay, so again, thank you, Legs and Hazel Jones, for a very outstanding conversation. It was just magic, and I love when that happens. It was supposed to be a members only, but um, once the baseball came out, I was just like, well, we got to talk about that. So I'll just leave it like it is. I'm not going to make it members only. I'll just leave it there. But that was the intention with coming back later. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you just joined us, very good conversation about the Royals and other things. So do enjoy. Okay, love you guys. Thank you so much. I will talk to you all later today. And thank you, as always, moderators, for keeping this a safe space. And lastly, I'll say it again, at the top of the chat, you can see the link for Celibacy. You can literally go and click on it right now and seamlessly move over and listen to the rest of their conversation, which is always outstanding. Okay? Cheers. I will see you all next time. Have a great night and or morning.